Good morning. Good morning. Good morning. Bit of a test at the moment. Bit of a test. We'll see though. What up, Cody? What's going on, man? Good morning. Hello. Welcome back. Welcome in. Welcome to the channel where you can watch an undereducated hick from Alabama perform an intellectual takedown of the Christian faith, doctrine, and logic for your entertainment. But also, hopefully, to make the world a bit of a better place by reducing the brain rot that is this Abrahamic religions, and to also combat the rise of the ridiculous Christian nationalism, because that's pretty stinky. Nobody likes it. Anyway, hope everyone can hear me good. Well, however you're supposed to speak the King's English, whatever the proper word for that is. I say good. If you can hear me good, let me know in the comments, please. I guess y'all can hear me. Jackson Fives, what's up, buddy? Oh my God, a stupid cat. Hang on a second. Crazy cat. Felines. Four-legged creatures. Awesome. Good deal. All right. Well, y'all know that Dr. Joshua Bowen is the best friend of this channel. He just had his free webinar, and you can sign up for his course and learn ancient Hebrew, or just check out some of his awesome books over on Amazon or Audible. Books like The Atheist Handbook to the Old Testament, volumes 1 and 2. He also wrote a book about slavery in the Hebrew Bible, which we discuss a lot because that shit is stupid. Also, don't be forgetting that this October in Huntsville, Alabama, 23, 24, and 25th, it's going down. The Rocket City Reason Conference is going down. There's going to be the absolute biggest names in deconstruction, atheists, debaters, TikTokers, YouTubers are going to be there. You do not want to miss it. Trust me. Because it's going to be fucking awesome. It's going to be off the chain. You need to be there or be square, or you might not even like your life anymore after that. Like, if this goes on without you, it could just be bad. It's just a warning. I'm not saying it's true. I'm just saying. Anyway, get your tickets for that at rocketcityreason.com and join the fun. Join in the fun. Anyway, oh yeah, I forgot I can't check my analytics anymore. So, I reckon we are ready to go. As long as I'm coming in loud and clear, I've switched I usually use a neckband thing, but now I've switched to earpods. So, hopefully everybody can hear me okay and shit. So. Including guests, though, if that's the thing. But anyway, I reckon we are ready. Good morning, everybody. Good morning. Hello. Thank you all. Let's get that algorithm flowing there. I appreciate that. We love the gifts. I don't care about nothing but gifts. That's the only thing we are going to do up in here is gift to me. Thank you, PJ. I appreciate that. Anyway, with all the rigmarole over with, I think, let's await eagerly the first guest of the day. And let me, let's see here. Actually, I'll tell you what, KC, before I pull you in, let me grab a guest first. I'm actually going to try to do a little science on something today. Or maybe not. Well, we'll give it just a second. Trying a little something out here. Judgment Day is coming soon. You explain your complaints to the judge. Yeah, I will. Yeah, I've got some questions for God if I ever meet him. Like, how come the babies had to have their brains bashed out? Like, why did you allow slavery? All that kind of stuff. Yeah, stuff like that. Yeah. Yes, I will. We'll be running those questions by the judge there, should we encounter him. Wait a minute. I forgot my notes. Shit. If you would like to be the first guest of the day, all you got to do to request up is touch the little double thingies down here. The little people thingies will request you on up there. Yeah. Yeah. Anyway, so yeah, come on in. Come on in. If you are a Christian. Oh crap, I just now noticed I used the wrong thing. I should really look stuff over before I go live. Anyway, just touch the little thingies down here if you would like to be the first guest of the day. Yeah, I'm going to try out a few different things to see. Let's do a little science on the old TikTok here and see what happens. We're going to see what happens. I think this thing's good here too. Anyway, Mondays are sometimes a little hit and miss. Can't see that thing very well, can you? I meant to change that too and I forgot. Like I said, I should really look my stuff over before we jump on the live here, I reckon. Anyway, Christians, all you got to do is touch the little people there. Touch the little people. Come on up and debate with us. Also, don't forget, if we hit our 100 rows live goal here, the gift goal, I will feed the fishes. So that'll be neat. Anyway, welcome in, everybody. Welcome through. Welcome through. Come on in. We'll feed the fishes if we get 100 roses. So, let the day begin. That's right. Yes, if you don't pay me to feed them, they'll starve. That's funny as shit. I never thought of that. I ain't gonna let the fish starve, are you? Oh, damn, I figured that worked. Shit. Dang, that's funny. Thank you, guys. I appreciate that. Anyway, hopefully we'll get some good debates up in here today. Looks like their first feeding's on the way here. Good morning. Good morning. Yeah, hopefully we have some good debates up in here today. With these fishes as my witnesses, we'll have some good old debate. Well, I think that's pretty much that. They've hit the... Alright, give me a second. Let me set a new goal. Since y'all trying to feed the fish already. Oops. Why is my finger never working this? What is happening here? Oh boy, oh boy. Just a second. Why would roses go away? Heart me rose thingies. Alright, screw it. Let's do this. Customize. I don't know why that one disappeared. Alright, so I'm set back in. Alright, next time we'll do 100 heart me's and we'll feed the fish. Alright, here it comes. Let me grab some food. Fish feeds. Come on up. I know y'all hungry. Y'all always hungry. Here they come, see? Yeah. The frenzy has begun. The feeding frenzy. What's up, Oren? The feeding frenzy. Look at them go. They're so hungry. Well, I guess they'll be enjoying the good life today, since thanks to the generosity of the fair gifters there. We appreciate that. We appreciate that. All right. Oops. Yep. They still chilling. They enjoyed that quick meal there. No background today. I'm back in my natural habitat, outside on the porch, where I belong. Chilling, relaxing. Keeps me a little more tranquil back here when we talk to insane people. It's pretty nice. Thank you, buddy. Thank you. Anyway, if you are a Christian, we are looking for the first guest of the day. We've been blasting on up here. So if you would like to request up to talk about one of the topics here, which is actually not even the topic I meant to have up. But anyway, just touch the little people thingy icon logo down here. And you can request on up and talk to us about one of these fine topics we got here today. Let's see. Yes. What? That wasn't another gift go, was it? Oh, okay. Never mind. All right. For 100 heart me thingies, there's the next fish feed, which we might get to there. I would think. Anyway, we'll feed the fishes. Yep. Backyard, man. Sitting on my back porch right now. I'm facing the wall of the back of my house. And then this is behind me is my pond and stuff here. But that's right. Looking for debates with Christians, as usual. Hopefully we'll have some good discussions today. Win some new deconverts. What's up? Hello, everybody. Indeed, it is a great smoke spot. Indeed. Oh, really? Shit. Guess I'm going to have to change that then. I can get back to the roses. In that case, let us edit. What? So let's do 15 of those seems more reasonable. All right, 1 in 15 heart beats. There we go. All right, now we're on track. All right, if you are a Christian, come on up. Come on up and be the first guest of the day. Been blasting the live for almost 10 minutes now. I haven't had a first guest request up besides my co-host. Not a guest though. So let's see. Oh, never mind. All right. I guess we will eagerly await the first guest of the day. Yeah, watch the fishes in the meantime. Anyway, if you are a Christian, all you got to do is touch the little icons down there and we'll invite you up. Either that or might throw a few crazy comments in there and all. Or throw it in the comments that you want to be invited up and I'll invite you. Young trapper, request on up and I'll be happy to tell you why. That's because the Bible says so. This I know, for the Bible tells me so. That's why. Alright. Get back on some of them passages there. Anyway, good morning, everyone. What's up? What's up? Yep. Yeah. Yeah. Thank you, Henry. I appreciate that. Welcome in, everybody. We got some goals set up. If we meet the goals up here, then the fishers get some food, and y'all can watch them go crazy and eat the food there. Anyway, let me get back. Oh, here we go. Here, this is actually the one I meant to use today. All right. I don't even know I had the other one up there, actually. So, this is the one we meant to start the day with, so. I am a tattoo artist by trade. Yes, those are real live fish. And if we hit my gift goal, I will feed them. You can watch them eat a bunch of delicious pebbles. Them stinking fish will eat you out of the house and home if you let them, man. Uh-oh. We don't like storms. Yeah, that's all I do is civilized talk, man. I'm not a name caller. I don't tell people what they just said was, well, sometimes I do tell them something. But yeah, for the most part, there is no rules at all here except for whatever you're going to say it in the form of an actual conversation. Like, don't just come up here and scream. You can literally say whatever you want. I really don't care. You know, excluding TikTok bannable language, of course. But there's nothing I can do about that. But yeah, if you want to request up, just touch the little thingies down here. Oh, okay. I got you, man. I think. Huh? Where's he out there? All right, maybe yeah, here we go.
Hello,
Hey, young trapper, you there?
I'm there.
Awesome, man. You're over 18?
Come again?
You're over the age of 18?
Yeah,
Cool. And you're one of the Christians?
yeah, I'm Christian. I'm just starting my, study theology, and I saw one of these videos and wanted to try and discuss it.
Cool. Yeah, go ahead. What you got?
So, I'm quite lost here. So, what's the debate mainly about? Is it about why you should be Christian, or is it about how God is cruel and unjust? So, which one is it?
You can do cruel and unjust if you want. I actually meant to start with this one, but I forgot to change it over for a start of the live. But we can do cruel and unjust.
Okay,
Is that what you
so
came up for?
I heard, yeah, that's what I came up for. So I heard you say that the Bible tells you about how God is unjust, cruel, and all that. So could you just tell me the passages and which parts of the Bible show or tell you that God is unjust?
Yeah. So I would define justice as getting what you deserve. Like, you can't punish innocent people for what somebody else did when they had nothing to do with it, and you can't deal out punishments that have are like way past the crime. Like, for example, I wouldn't say it's considered just if someone stole a candy bar from a gas station and they were sentenced to 90 years of hard labor in prison. You know what I mean? It doesn't add up. It's not worth that. So when I say God is unjust, that's literally what I mean. Is he's punishing innocent people for what other people did, and he's punishing them with very, very harsh punishments, even though they're completely innocent.
Okay, so in which verses of the Bible does it explicitly say God punished innocent people? Because I've studied, or rather, I've read most of the Bible, and every time God imposes justice on a certain group of people, it usually says before that they were wicked, and God saw that they were wicked. Because even during the story of Noah, if I'm correct, it literally says that God saw that all hearts were wicked, and that's why he brought the flood, because in fact, I would say all of the people were wicked by that time. So that's why he had to, start again with the whole world. And
Right.
I think that, yeah, so most of the time when you're reading the Bible, you see that it even said, if I'm correct, it should be in the poetic books like Proverbs or Psalms. It says that God doesn't, look at wicked. He doesn't love wickedness, and that's why he imposes his justice, and us Christians believe that God is he's the one who gives us life, and he has the right to give and take that life because he's the one who gave it to us. So every time we see God taking life to impose justice, we see it as righteous because he's the one that gave us the life that we have. And if he sees that we are wicked, or he sees a group of people being wicked, he has the right to do that.
Well, saying he has the right to do it doesn't make it just in its nature. If he unalive somebody, there has to be a justification, or it's considered murder by definition. Would you agree with that?
Yes, and that's why in every Bible story or every scripture where God does take a life, there's always a reason that is shown in the verse.
Right. So, would you say God was unjust if he punishes innocent people for what other people did?
So on that one, it depends on what how could I say this, your standard of morality and what you think justice is. You see, the problem that most
Not
people
punishing
who
innocent people for what guilty people did. Like, you can't punish somebody that's innocent, can you?
No, you can't. But the problem is most people put God into their own view of justice and morality. At the end of the day, what he sees is not what we see. If I'm correct, I think in Psalms, David talks about how, or rather, God talks about how what he thinks is greater than what we think. So he has a reason for what he does. He sees everything above the human mind, and that's why most of the time we say that God is complex, because what he thinks is not what we think. And when he does something, it's out of our understanding because he is complex. That's one of his natures. He is complex, even in the way that he
Would you
thinks and sees things.
would you consider it an unjust murder if God unalive somebody because they spilt semen on the floor?
So for that main case, I know a lot of people see it as unjust, but you have to understand the times in which they were in and the specific ceremonies and rituals that were done during that time. So, if I'm correct, if I remember the story well, I think the man who spilled his semen on the floor was, I don't know if he was supposed to get the woman and to like extend the, I've forgotten the story. Sorry, but yeah,
Well,
there
in the
was,
story, like in the law,
yeah,
if your brother dies, you're supposed to marry his wife and impregnate her. But this guy didn't want to do that
yeah,
because it's
yeah.
his brother's widow. He didn't want to come inside her. So instead, he pulls out and comes on the floor, and God kills him for it.
Yeah, so now, even as I said, you have to look at the law and the time of what was happening. So
Right, but
God,
you
or
don't
rather,
seriously think a guy deserved to die because he pulled out of his brother's widow and came on the floor, do you?
not okay. From my standpoint, my view, I wouldn't say that it is right. Like as a human, I would say, okay,
Also,
that's
me
quite
either.
concerning.
Yay.
But
We agree. Yeah. Yeah, it is quite concerning.
yeah, well, yeah, it is quite concerning, right? But that's why I said it earlier that when we're looking at the things that God does in the Bible, we have to understand that He's, outside our thinking point. So me and you might see it
Yeah.
as
God
evil,
don't
but
like
the way
spilled
He
milk,
sees it
does
is
he?
that He had to. So He must have seen it
He'll kill you.
as, not obeying.
All right.
So
All right.
when
So,
He
what if
did
I
it,
show you an
okay.
instance? Okay, we can move past the coming on the floor and God being bad. Sound like we agree that's
Yeah,
not
yeah, yeah.
cool.
Let's move past it.
All right. Well, I think it sounded like we agreed that that wasn't quite right of God, at least in our own minds, right?
Yeah, it wasn't right of God in our minds. Yeah.
Okay. Now, what if I show you a more clear-cut case of God actually punishing an innocent person clearly for what somebody else did, and not just punishing them, but also making them suffer first?
Okay, go on, show me.
Well, if I can show you this case, like this will not speak well of God, right?
Okay.
Well, I mean, I'm asking you, like that would be unjust, right? If I can show you a story like that.
First you'd have to show me what is the story about, and then I would have to see what I think about it.
Well, I mean, that's why I'm asking you beforehand. Like, if I can clearly show you that it is the case that God is making an innocent person suffer for what someone else did, would you consider that unjust? Like, if that story in that context is there.
Okay, from my view, since I'm Christian, I wouldn't call it unjust because, He's the God that I worship and I know that He has a reason. But if you're
Well,
saying
it tells
from a
you the
human
reason.
standpoint, if it does tell me the reason, then that's, I would still say it's just because He does have a reason for doing it.
Yeah, but you don't know the reason yet.
Yeah, I don't know the reason. That's why I'm waiting for the story.
Right, I just want you to agree that if I can in fact show you a story like that, that you can't consider that justice to punish an innocent person with suffrage, especially for what somebody else did. That can't be justice by definition, right? Not regular modern ideals of justice, and also not biblical ideals of justice, because the Bible also says that's bad.
Then at that point, I would say it's unjust.
Okay, cool. All right, so you know what happened to David and Bathsheba's infant son?
Um, just narrate the story, please.
Well, in the story, David commits adultery with Bathsheba, right?
Yeah.
And obviously, adultery's bad. The law in the Old Testament for adultery is being stoned to death. So, God puts away David's sin because, I guess, because David's the king and he gets special treatment or something. But anyway, David commits adultery. God puts away David's sin, and it says this verbatim, by the way. It says, He puts away David's sin. But because David has committed this vile act and utterly scorned the Lord, the child, the baby, has to die. So God makes that child sick for an entire week. It says the Lord struck this child Himself. The Lord did the deed. It wasn't man. It wasn't somebody else. God did it Himself. He made the child sick for a week. It suffered, and then it died for what David did. A completely innocent baby.
Okay, tell me the chapter and the verse so that I can read it.
Only 3 more heartbeats there, and the fish get some more food, by the way. So, anyway, that's from 2 Samuel chapter 12. And I'll tell you what, I'll read it real quick. I'll read 11 through 15. It says, Thus says the Lord, I will raise up trouble against you from within your own house, and I will take your wives before your eyes, and give them to your neighbor, and he shall lie with your wives in broad daylight. That's also part of the punishment, which we haven't got into yet. But in that part, he's actually having 10 of David's wives raped for what David did. Anyway, for you did it secretly, but I will do this thing before all Israel and in broad daylight. David said to Nathan, I have sinned against the Lord. And Nathan said to David, Now the Lord has put away your sin, and you shall not die. Nevertheless, but because by you have scorned the Lord, because you have utterly scorned the Lord, the child born to you shall die. Then Nathan went to his house, and the Lord struck the child whom Uriah's wife bore to David, and it became very ill. Then it dies a week later.
So now for that one, I would look at it from, so he literally says that he gets the child, right? That's what the story is about. He gets the child and punishes the child on behalf of David's sin, correct?
Yeah.
So now there are some verses, in fact, there's some stories in the Bible where God does it, even though it might seem unjust. He does it to, symbolize what He is going to do in future times. Because even if you look at the story of Abraham and Isaac, if I'm correct, God tells Abraham to go sacrifice his son, right? And before he does that, yeah, God stops the whole thing. But that was also a sacrifice. It was, sorry, not a sacrifice. It was, you know, how can I put this? A prophetic mirror into what Jesus would do. And even here, it goes the same. He uses this show, or he uses this story of, using the innocent child for David's sin to reflect what God would do even, on the cross. He would send his only begotten son, who is blameless, and, to die on behalf of the world. That's why he does this. So the story, yes, it might look unjust, but it was meant to symbolize the ultimate sacrifice.
This don't have nothing to do with ultimate sacrifices, man. This is about David's sin. Because David
Yeah,
and
but
Bathsheba have another baby right after this, and God loves that baby. He makes it a king and makes it rich and gives him, that baby, hundreds of wives that he can bang every day. And it's the same guy
so
with the same woman.
yeah,
But
but you
this
see, it's
child, this infant child, the first infant child, was made to suffer for a week and then die.
so
And
yes,
and unless,
I
I
know
mean, certainly you wouldn't argue the baby was guilty of adultery, would you?
why would the baby be guilty of adultery?
It wouldn't. That's what I'm saying. It's completely innocent. God is making an innocent baby suffer and die
Mhm.
for the sin of a grown ass man, what another man did.
Yes, that's why I'm saying it. If you look at it from just a plain view, you would see it as unjust. But when you start seeing it as a prophetic mirroring of what would happen,
Well,
the
it's not
ultimate
prophetic. It's
sacrifice, that's
just a
when you
story.
understand.
It's not a prophecy.
Yeah, but remember, the Bible isn't just meant to be read, directly like that. Yes, it looks like just a story, but you have to understand it on a deeper level.
Yeah, but it's not a prophecy though. I don't have to understand something on a prophetic level if it's not a prophecy. You know what I mean?
Okay,
There's lots
what
of
makes
prophecies in
you
the Bible.
Yeah, what makes you determine, or what makes you think that it, as the story, might not be prophetic?
Well, it's just not a prophecy. It's not written as a prophecy.
You see, yeah, some parts of the Bible are not written as prophecies or whatever. They're just written as plain stories, and you have to now interpret it as a prophecy. Because even in Psalms, the story where David says, my God, why have thou forsaken me?" And then it goes down to talk about how David has been, pierced in the hands and feet. It just looks as though David is talking about his own suffering, but now you look at it from, prophetic interpretation, and it shows you about the ultimate sacrifice. Same goes for this story here. The child is blameless and without sin, but God imposes justice on it on behalf of the sinful man, just as
Well,
the
how did the
way
baby get justice?
the baby doesn't have to. How can I even put this? So the baby is the, channel through which justice is imposed. Doesn't mean there's no justice for that child.
Well,
It just
there's no
shows that the
justice
child.
here. The child isn't receiving justice. The child is receiving injustice, in fact.
So that child isn't receiving injustice if God meant it for
By
a
the way,
purpose.
we
There's
hit
a
the fish
specific
goal
purpose for
here. Sorry, 2 seconds, buddy. You're about to say something really cool, though. As
I
soon as
know,
I
don't worry.
reset this. Don't lose your thought there, though. We'll get right back to it, I promise. As soon as I can. Damn it. Alright, let me reset the
Nice
goals,
fish,
and
by
then
the
it's
way.
fish food time! Yeah, they'll love it. They're very gluttonous creatures. Alright,
Nice fish, by
y'all
the way.
ready? Thank you, man. Here they come. It's fish food time. God, this damn eating ass fish. Yep, there they go. There, they love the food. The very expensive, high protein food. Look at them going! Ah! All right. Sorry about that, Trapper. So,
Or
so you remember before I read that story, I said if I can show you a story that happens like this, you said yeah, you can't consider that justice.
I wouldn't consider it justice on the human level, but yeah, I would see it as justice in God's eyes. That's what I said.
Well, I mean, I'm just talking. Well, if that's justice in God's eyes, it just doesn't say much for God, I don't think. But it's definitely injustice to us, isn't it?
Yeah, on your objective view, that looks like
Well,
injustice.
on yours too, right?
I would say in one way or another, yes.
All right. Well, there you go, man. It sounds like you agree with me.
So I'm not saying that God is unjust, but I'm saying that the act here on the human level looks like injustice. But that's why I'm saying that the main story isn't whether it's not about justice or it's not about injustice. It's more about, as I said,
Well, I mean,
it's
that's
a
what makes
prophetic
somebody
shadow.
unjust is if they're doing things that are unjust. Like it would have been like this would have been a bad example for me to use if like for example David and Bathsheba committed adultery, had the child, and God said, "Hey David, hey Bathsheba, guess what? Y'all messed up. You got to go. Sorry." And then he did it to them. That would be justified in accordance with his own law. I wouldn't consider it justified to unalive somebody for committing adultery anyway, but just for the sake of the argument, you know what I mean? Like that would have been actual justice. The person who did the crime got the punishment, you know what I mean? But this is the complete opposite. This is God making a baby, an infant child, suffer greatly and then pass away. So you want to do one more story here? Just to make sure we
Uh, okay, so before you go on, just going to ask you something else. So, now I know this is going past the story, but I'll just stay within the same story. So now, since I already told you that, for me, or rather, most interpretations see it as a prophetic shadowing. Now, I'm going to ask you. So, Jesus died on the cross, right, for our sins. Grown, as you said, grown people, grown as
I
people.
agree. He
So,
died on the cross. I'm not too sure what he died for, but
so we believe that he died for our sins, since the Bible itself says it. Even in the New Testament, I think Hebrews says that. He says there's no atoning for sin without the shedding of blood. So yes, so let's do that. So God sends his only begotten son, Jesus, to die on the cross. Could you say that that's injustice? Because, all justice was imposed on Jesus. If we take
well, yeah, if
the
an
biblical
innocent
story
man
as
is being made to suffer for guilty people, then yeah, that would be injustice.
Okay, so that would be injustice to you, right? But now let me give an example, or rather an analogy. So I think you've seen it or heard of it somewhere. So a king has this child. The child goes out and plays and finds bad friends. The bad friends get that child into trouble, and the child is sentenced to, murder. And then the king comes and says, you know what, I'm going to die in his place, and for that you can impose all justice on me. Would you say that that's injustice towards the king who willingly put himself there to die for the child?
Yeah, you could consider that a merciful act, but it's still not justice being served. No, that's a suspension of justice.
So same goes for the image of Daniel and Bathsheba. If you see it as a prophetic shadowing, you see that the child, although it might not seem like willing, but it shows how an innocent person or a spotless lamb, in short, a blameless child, can be, put as a suspension of justice. He is a medium through
Yeah,
which
but don't
the
you think it's
justice
messed up that the whole system is built on an innocent
is
person
imposed.
suffering? Like, maybe God could hold people responsible for their
I
own
don't see
crimes
it
and not
as
punish the innocent people to fix what the guilty people are doing. That makes no sense at all to me.
how many times would people have to be put, or how many times would God have to impose justice on someone if he held them accountable every time? Because at the end of the day, we sin every day. So if he did impose justice on everyone and held them accountable every single day, which we do sin, would you now see it as irrelevant to put someone who is innocent to die for their sins?
Wait, you'll have to say that one more time.
Look, as Christians, we believe that people have sinned and we are still sinning every day. Even even a normal Christian would say that they
Are
sin
you
every day.
knowingly sinning every day?
Sin is an everyday. No, we don't knowingly sin. That's why in
Oh.
most Christians, prayers,
Well, if you
we
don't even know you're
repent
sinning, why
saying,
would God hold you accountable for it if it's not intentional?
because the heart is wicked.
Yeah, but
You
I think
see,
intent's pretty
okay,
important.
let's do this. Okay, let's do this. Which example can I give? Okay, so let's just say someone gets upset, right? I hope we're on the same page. So someone gets upset and they accidentally hurt someone in that angered state. They can't think properly, they're upset and they hurt someone. So while they were upset, they didn't know that they were hurting someone. You could say that they unknowingly did it in that state, and once they realized they did it, they start apologizing and all that. So now let's just look at that part. So now they did it unknowingly. So that's why we, repent for sins that are done knowingly and unknowingly, because you don't know when you can make a mistake. Even in, another, when you're talking to someone and you offend them without knowing that you did, mistakes happen and you accidentally say something bad that offends them without knowing, you unknowingly, hurt them and sinned against that. So that's what annoying and sin that is done unknowingly is. You don't know what you've done, but you
Right, but you would forgive somebody for that. Like if they just said, "I'm sorry, I didn't know what I was saying," you would say, "Yeah, I understand. No
it,
worries." Right.
yeah, and that's
All right. Now, if somebody intentionally said all those things and said, "Oh yeah, I mean exactly what I said," you're going to take that
yeah.
a lot different, aren't you? Yeah.
Yeah, I'm going to take it a lot different, and that's why God, even in fact, let me just say this. That's why Jesus said that turn the other cheek. You're supposed to forgive one another for everything. Because even when I'm upset, uh, let's say a couple is having a fight. Someone's upset. They say something bad. They've done it intentionally because they were upset. And the person just says, "Okay, I'm sorry." Would you forgive that person or not?
Would I forgive them?
Yeah, let me just ask you. Let's say you have an issue. If you're, I don't know if you're married or whatever. Let's
Yeah.
say you have an issue, and now your wife says something in anger towards you. She said it intentionally because, but
Oh, you cut out there on the last part, man. I got your wife
come
says
again.
something intentional. I didn't hear you cut out.
Yeah, let's say you have an argument. Yeah, sorry. I was in a loud place. I'm kind of walking somewhere. So anyway, you have an argument with, let me just say a friend, a friend or a spouse. You have an argument and something hurtful to you intentionally. right? They say it intentionally. They say it with intention. They say something bad, and
Right.
they say sorry to you after saying that thing intentionally. Would you personally forgive them?
Yeah, I probably would.
Yeah, so that's the same as, knowingly sinning.
Well,
It's the same. So you know what you did, and you apologize.
well, why did somebody have to suffer and die?
Because, as I said earlier, humans have wicked hearts. We sin every day, even if we don't notice it. So that's why someone had to die in their place. Or you could just say that's why Jesus had to die in our place, because of the sins that we've done knowingly and unknowingly. Because if we took on justice every single day, then at the end of the day, the amount of justice we would receive would be overwhelming. And that's why someone who was, blameless and spotless had to take that sin without, uh, you know, having to take it over and over. And that's why the wages of sin is death.
Well, the wages of sin is death in the New Testament. In the Old Testament, sometimes if you sin, you can just pay a fine.
Um, you see, in the Old Testament, they had
That's what I'm saying.
specific.
Like the New
Yep.
Testament straight up lying to you, man. Like the New Testament says there is no forgiveness without the shedding of blood, right? So you have to have blood for forgiveness. But the Old Testament don't even say that. God says himself, if you want forgiveness, just repent. Seek his face and turn from your wicked ways, and you'll have forgiveness. That's all you got to do.
Okay,
You
let's
don't
go
need blood for
to let's
forgiveness. That's ridiculous.
Oh, okay. Let's look at Job, for example. Job he made sacrifices for each of his children and said, okay, you know what, I'm doing this in case my children sin. In the Old Testament, what happened is that they would have to give sacrifices to God
Yeah, but you didn't
to,
have to. That was like a preemptive thing. He was doing that just in case they sinned, right?
yeah, but it was the same, when the Israelites sinned,
Well,
they
that's the
had
thing.
to
Paul
give.
says in the New Testament that a goat, sacrificing a goat, can't purify your sins. But in the Old Testament, it clearly does, because that's what they're doing all through the Old Testament is having sins forgiven for sacrifice.
Exactly. So in the Old Testament, when they sacrificed something, it's not like they became clean. It's not like all their sins were erased. It was just there as a placeholder to say, okay, I've sinned and this is what I'm doing. Because you can't tell me that the amount of sins that you've done are equal to a goat per se. So let's say I kill someone and I simply
Yeah, it's pretty
cut a
silly.
goat and sacrifice it. Would you say that the death of an innocent person is equal to the death of a lamb? And that's why Jesus had to come and take on the sin.
Sure, but do you not see what a bad story this is? I mean, do you really have no inkling there that this isn't right? So God makes everybody, they all suck. And God's like, well, we can't do nothing about this. So literally, the one innocent, pure person, he has to torture them to death to forgive all the other people when he could have just forgave them anyway, couldn't he?
And that's where most people make a mistake. God didn't make people, automatically imperfect. In the garden, Adam and Eve chose to sin. They willingly chose to sin. Eve listened to a talking snake. Like, bro, would you listen to a talking snake if it came for you? Would you run away? So they willingly chose to sin. And that's why in the New Testament it says that.
You're making a bad story even worse, man.
How?
Because we've now went to God tortures the one innocent person for all the other shitty people to he's doing it all because the first two people ate a magic fruit.
No. Look, what I'm saying is the reason why
And
he had to.
a talking snake talked him into it.
So look, I'm not saying that it's because some people just ate, magic fruit, as you said. So
Well, that's what happened, though.
what it, yeah, that's what happened. But you see, it's about disobedience. Remember, sin is disobedience against God. Because if God tells you things like in the Bible, Christians have strict rules to follow in the Bible. And if someone sins and goes against those things, that's the same as what happened in the garden. God told Adam and Eve, don't eat the fruit, and they still did it. And that's why someone has to get justice for what we have done against God. You see, that's why I'm saying
So
that
why don't you
it's the
get what you've
same.
done against God? Like, what would be the problem with that?
Because I said it earlier, the amount of things that us humans do on a regular basis okay, let's just say if you're a Christian, right, and you believe that yes, humans sin on a daily basis because sin is in our hearts now, and you said that justice needs to be imposed on everyone. We have to hold everyone accountable, right? And let's say someone sins every day,
For what they
and
do? Well, I mean, that's in the
the
Bible. That's what God says. He says, the Son shall not be put to death for the sins of the Father, nor the Father for the sins of the sons. Each will be put to death for their own crimes. That's God's standard of justice. I'm just using his own standard. He can't even do that right.
look, when he says that a child shall not die for the sins of the father, he's talking about humans, direct. Like if let's say my brother sinned and I went there and died for his sins, that's what you would call injustice. But now God comes down and takes on a human body, and remember, that's God himself. So he takes on the justice and says, you know what, okay, there are rules here, and me as the judge, I'm just going to get the sentence for that person who has sinned. You see? So when he says a child shall not die for the sins of their father, and yeah, so on and so forth, he's talking about us humans directly. He's not talking about God himself. You see,
Yeah,
that's the
but it's one
problem
of
most
God's
people make.
laws, though.
Yeah, it's one of God's laws that were done for the people. So, okay, if let's say
Yeah,
your
but God
dad
says
told
his
you,
laws are all perfect, they're all just, and they are what's doing good and right in his sight. So if God says it's good and right not to punish innocent people, but then he punishes innocent people, then he is by definition doing wrong. That's just straight up logic.
so look, I'm not saying that. That's the thing, you're not getting my point. I'm saying that God himself took on that's what us Christians believe. We believe that Jesus is God, and he took on the human body and died for us. So imagine his perfection turned into imperfection so that he can perfect us who are imperfect. And that's why when God says that his
So are
laws
you perfect
are
now, or are you still a
perfect, and
sinner?
I'm still a sinner, but I am made perfect in the eyes of God because of Jesus' sacrifice.
If you're still doing the thing you were supposed to stop doing to be perfect, how are you perfect now?
So look, as for me, okay, I'll just give an example, right? Let's say a person who fornicates and is active in adultery and all that, and
Like
when they
David?
apologize, yeah, let's say him. So when someone continues to do that, and even though the Bible strictly says no, don't do that, and that's exactly what I'm talking about. As a human, we sin every day, and God takes on, or rather took on that sin so that I can be forgiven without the shedding of new blood, because it would
So,
just be,
so you're
yeah.
saying that Jesus died. So you're still a sinner. Sin's still in the world. Everybody's still doing all the bad stuff. But now you don't have to sacrifice for God's just forgiving it anyway now.
So you could phrase it in that way, but what I'm saying is that yes,
Well,
everyone
that was a
sins. Like,
question.
yeah, you could say that. You could say that.
Don't you think that's pretty messed up? Like God didn't remove sin from the world. Everybody's still sinning. It's like now he just don't care.
It's not like he doesn't care. That's why at the end of like the hour of the Lord, when judgment comes upon us. That's why there's the ultimate judgment, when God judges us for what we did, and we are saved through the
But
faith that we
but
have
wait,
in Christ.
what would he possibly judge you for though? You're already forgiven. Why does he need to judge you if he
Well,
knows you're forgiven for all your sins he already knows you're doing? You see how none of this really makes a
well,
whole lot of sense?
if you understand it, it does, because we are judged. That's why I said we are judged by our works. So when God comes to judge us, he's judging us on what we did, but we are saved from that judgment through the faith that we have in Christ.
So he's judging you even though he's already forgiven you because of a sacrifice.
You could say that. You could say that he judges us like, okay, you did this, you did that, you did that. And then he says, okay, so my son paid the ultimate sacrifice for you. You believed in him. You had faith that he did sacrifice, or he, willingly sacrificed himself for your sins. So since you believed in him, I'm going to forgive you because you are covered by his sacrifice.
So he's judging you. He's saying, so like when God judges you, he brings you up and he's like, hey, trapper, this is your judgment. I've already forgiven you. Never mind.
Yeah, you could say that. So he judges you on what you did and
Does
says,
that
okay, you
not
know
seem
what?
utterly pointless?
No, it does not, because we need to be.
It really seems
That's what I'm
pointless
saying.
to
Look,
me.
so no, so look. Now I have to go there. So anyway, so you didn't believe. Let's say God, it's Judgment Day, right? God judges us and says, or the Father judges us and says, okay, you know what? You did this, you did this, you did this, but my son sacrificed himself on your behalf. And now that you are covered by his sacrifice, you are covered by his blood, I will forgive you, because that's what the sacrifice was meant for. It was meant to take on your judgment. And since you accepted the fact that my son sacrificed himself for you, I'll forgive you. But for those who didn't accept it and continued rejecting him and saying, you know what, nah, this is dumb. Why would someone have to sacrifice themselves? Or, they start to, how could I
Like
put
me,
them?
yeah.
The unbelievers, yeah, the unbelievers. You could say that, the unbelievers. So he says,
Right.
okay, since you didn't you didn't accept the fact that my son died for you, despite the fact that he did, you've already rejected me. You've already rejected your forgiveness. You've already rejected the sacrifice. So you know what? You've rejected me. You've rejected the sacrifice. So I'm just going to leave you somewhere where there's no sacrifice for you. I'm going to leave you away from me. And the only place that is away from God is eternal punishment, because when you accept him, you get eternal salvation.
So it's all based on belief and not actual works then. It's all going to come down to whether I believe this or not.
Yeah, it's something like that, because again, even
That's still not
in,
justice, man. That's not.
how is it not justice?
We are not landing on justice here, because if I'm the best of, let's say I act like Jesus my entire life, but I didn't
Yeah,
believe
yeah,
this nonsensical story, then I burn for eternity. So this isn't based on works. It's not based on any standard at all of justice. It can't be. It's based solely on whether you accepted this story or not.
okay,
So
so
God is
now
going
I'm
to burn
going
you
to,
alive if you don't accept this story here in this deeply flawed book. But
now
even if you
let
were a
me do
great
this.
person who never sinned.
You see, that's why as Christians say it's impossible to not sin. Even in the Bible, it says that for all have fallen and fallen short of the glory
You
of
know
God.
that the Bible
And
says if you persist in sin after learning the truth, then you're going to get an even worse punishment than the unbelievers, right? It says the
yeah,
sacrifice is no good to you.
that's for Christians. You see, when you believe and
Yeah,
you
Christians who
continue,
persist in sin. You said you sin every day.
yeah, those who persist in sin and reject him even though being Christian. It's like, okay,
No,
let
no,
me do
no. It
this.
doesn't say reject him. It says if you knowingly persist in sin after having learned the truth of Christ, then the sacrifice is of no use at all to you. And you're going to get an even worse punishment
Okay.
than the non believers are.
Okay,
Is
so
what it
let
says.
me put it in this way. Let me put it in this way. So, let's say your parents, right? Your dad, your mom, anyone says, okay, you know what? Uh, if you steal, I don't know, if you steal this lollipop from the table, I'm going to punish you for stealing it from the table, right? And then you go there and steal it, and you say sorry to your mom, you say sorry to your dad for taking that lollipop. They forgive you, right? Because, let's just say it's Jesus now. So you sin, you apologize, and he forgives you. And then you sin again, you say sorry, and he forgives you. And now you do it, or you just continue doing it and say, at the end of the day, he's going to forgive you. So now you're taking the sacrifice for granted. You're just taking it as, okay, he did it, so what's the point? Let me just live freely.
Yeah, so now it's of no good to you, right?
Now it's of no good because you have taken it for granted. You have taken a gift for granted.
And that's what persisting in sin is. It's taking the sacrifice for granted.
Exactly. So you're not being,
So if you're still
how
sinning
could I
every
say?
day, then this sacrifice is of no benefit to you.
That's the thing. When I sin, I don't take it for granted and say, what, he's already died for me, so let me just continue doing
That's
it.
literally what you're
That's why.
doing. Like if you're just sinning, assuming this is going to save you, then you're doing it wrong. Like by your own standard there.
That's what. Okay, how can I explain this in a simple way? So look, what I'm saying by I'm a sinner, I sin every day, is because most Christians, in fact, this is what I could say this is what Christians believe. So every day you wake up and you go out with your day, you don't know what you've done. That's why I talked about unknowing sin. You don't know what you've done. Okay, you just do it without knowing, and you apologize and say, what? Okay, I don't know what I've done, but if I did anything to you, I'm sorry. And then there are those
So
that
you don't know that you committed adultery when you committed adultery. Stuff like that.
that's different. When you do it, no, there's a difference. When I said knowing and unknowing sin, so
Let me read
for
you something real quick. In Hebrews
okay,
10, it says, if we willfully persist in sin after having received knowledge of the truth, there no longer remains a sacrifice for sins, but a fearful prospect of judgment and a fury of fire that will consume the adversaries. Anyone who has violated the law of Moses dies without mercy on the testimony of two or three witnesses. How much worse punishment do you think will be deserved by those who have spurned the Son of God, profaned the blood of the covenant by which they were sanctified, and outraged the Spirit of grace? For we know one who said, vengeance is mine, I will repay. And again, the Lord will judge his people. It is a fearful thing to fall into the hands of the living God.
that's why I
So,
said that.
like, what
Uh,
is a sin that you think you do every day, but you don't know you're doing?
that's why I said I don't know what I am doing. It's annoying. You sin
So you don't
unknowingly.
even know you're sinning. You're just running around sinning crazy every day, and you don't even know you're doing it.
It's not that
You're
I
like
do
just
it.
blind zombies, just running around, sinning all over the place, just squirting off sin like it's a garden hose, but oblivious to the fact.
That's
Look,
what I
it's
do.
about willing. It's about willing for sinning. If you do it willingly and you just say, okay, at the end of the day, he's going to forgive me, and you're doing it knowingly and willingly, there's no point to forgiving you if you're doing it and expecting forgiveness. You're expecting something despite knowing the fact that you're just going to do it again. But for those who sin and say, what, I don't know what I've done, I might be doing it, and they feel genuinely guilty about it, then there is forgiveness for that.
So you can sin all you want as long as you don't know you're sinning, is what you're saying, right?
Bro, that's not what I said. I said that
I'm trying to
you
figure out what
were
you're
not.
exactly you're saying because I'm trying to show
Okay.
you that if
Look,
KC would
we
not make
try
me
our
choke to
best.
death laughing, I would
Sorry.
try to explain.
So
Oh
look,
my god!
so
I mean, oh, you're
the
God
point,
actually.
so the point, or what I'm trying to say is that we should try our best to not sin, but at the end of the day we are going to fall short because that's our nature. We're just going to fall short at the end of the day, so we try our best to not sin, and we will continue to fall short because that's our nature. We are imperfect, and that's the point. Not doing it deliberately.
How do you think? How would you define persisting in sin? Would you say that's sinning more than once, or more than twice, or more than three times? Like, how many times do you think you get? Like, do you get to do that sin before it's considered persisting in sin?
Persisting in sin, in what I believe the writer was trying to say, is exactly what I did it, willingly sinning. That's what persisting in sin is. You continue doing it despite the fact that you know what you're doing is wrong, but you continue
Like every
doing
day,
it.
right? Like the garden hose. Like,
Yeah, so you wake up today, you sin, and you know that you've sinned, but you continue doing it despite the fact that you already know that it's bad. You've repented for it, but you just continue doing it deliberately.
yeah, that means this is no good to you, right?
Yes, because you did it deliberately and you knew that you were
All right,
sinning. You know the fact that you
all right,
did it. You didn't feel guilty for
perfect,
it.
cool. So, is there since you've became a Christian, there is no sin that you have knowingly persisted in? You've became perfect in that aspect, right?
As for me, I know that I am not perfect. I personally know that I'm not perfect, and yeah, I've been
So
struggling
that's
with
a yes. You
something.
have knowingly persisted in sin, right?
I could say that in the past I have, yes, in the past.
As
But
a Christian.
I uh I was born Christian, so you could say that. So I knowingly
Yikes.
persisted in sin, but
Well,
I
let me
did
read one
seek
more time what happens if you knowingly persist in sin, just so we're clear. So, if we willfully persist in
hold on.
sin after having received knowledge of the truth, there no longer remains a sacrifice for sins, but a fearful prospect of judgment and a fury of fire that will consume the adversaries. Like, you're done. If
So
you've persisted in a
now
sin
understand what
knowingly,
I
you've
said.
already spurned the Son of God, and you're going to get an even worse punishment than me and KC with our garden hoses.
No, listen. That's why I said in the past. Did you not hear? I grew a connection with my God. I genuinely believe that I grew a connection with Him, and that's why these days I try my best to live a better life. But that's why I
So
said in
now
the
you're
past
perfect, right?
I'm not perfect. No one
Do you
is.
still knowingly persist in sin at all? Do you still do that?
I don't think I have knowingly persisted in a specific sin.
So you're perfect then.
No, just because you don't do something doesn't
That's what
mean
being
you're
perfect
perfect.
is in the law. It's not persisting in sin now that you've learned the truth because the law has been written on your heart and on your mind.
So living by something and not doing something is different. So when you're perfect, you live by it every single day and you don't fall short. I'm not saying that just because I stopped repeating a specific sin doesn't mean that I am automatically perfect. That's why I said there might be sins that I've committed.
If you never persist in sin, then you are perfect by the definition of what's going on here. That's
So,
what being righteous
bro,
is. It's doing what's right in the eyes of the Lord. That's keeping the law.
bro. So anyway, before I go do something else, so look, what I'm talking about when I say um how
You've
could
been
I put
great to
this? When
talk
I
to, by
say
the way. I've really enjoyed the
you too.
conversation with you.
You too. So when I say not I haven't persisted in sin, it means that I don't recall a specific sin that I knowingly committed like continuously, even though I grew a connection to Christ. And when I said that in the past I did it, there was a time when I used to say, okay, you know what, at the end of the day, I'm just going to be forgiven, so let me just do whatever I want. That's why I said I used to knowingly persist in sin. But once I grew a connection, I have tried my best to live righteously, even though I know that due to my human nature, I am going to fall sooner or later. That's what I'm talking about.
If you knew you was going to hell, would you still do all this?
If I knew that I was going to hell, I would
Would you
honestly,
bother
why
with
would I?
Christianity if you was going to burn anywhere? Would you just go ahead and enjoy the one life that you're going to get that's pleasurable before you go burn forever?
Not really, because everything that's pleasurable has its, downsides. Like, if let's say we talk about sleeping around, and I just knew that, okay, I'm going to hell, so what's the point? Let me just go sleep around with anyone. You see, there are downsides to it, so I probably would just
Like
do
what?
my best to be a good person. Even though I know that I'm going to hell, I would still try my best to be a good person. Because there must be a reason why I am going there
Well, I
in the
mean,
first place.
sleeping around with other consenting adults isn't necessarily a sin, though.
Where does
I mean, there's
where
not
did you
really,
get
there's
that?
like maybe some negative things that can come from that, but that in itself, there's nothing negative about that. It's just you having fun with other consenting adults, doing what consenting adults do when they like garden hoses.
So, so look, when I say that there are downsides, and you already know the downsides, I could just say, let's say, okay, like having multiple connections. And after all, the Bible does strictly tell me to be, stick with one person. That's what God planned in the first place: one man, one wife. So if I knew
Well,
that
that's
I
not
was
true.
going
This
to,
David and Solomon had hundreds of wives.
Mm-hmm.
There's even laws
but
about like if
actually,
you take a second wife, how you have to treat like the rights of the firstborns with your first wife and stuff, even if you don't like her anymore.
so
Yeah,
look.
plus you can have wives and concubines. So like no,
Yeah.
that's not true at all.
So those people who had multiple people they were condemned in one way or another, despite the fact that it just seems that they lived perfect lives. But in one way or another, God did condemn the sin and shunned away. God didn't love it,
What
and that's
sin?
why,
They wasn't sinning though. They didn't break the law.
bro. Look at,
There's
let's
no
say,
law that says you can only marry one woman. There's no law that says that.
in the New Testament, God does command it.
No, the only restriction on how many people you're allowed to marry or sleep with is on women. Like that's the only restriction. Men don't have any restriction for that.
Okay, so let me
Yeah,
ask
it
you
never
this:
says
if
anything
God,
about a man being a virgin at marriage. That's for women, and it's because it's a property of the father of the
Yeah.
woman.
It's
That's
because we're
a value
property.
to him. Yeah,
Yeah.
exactly. Well, I mean, not exactly.
okay, so let me let's say Corinthians, if I'm correct, it should be 7, yeah, chapter 7. First Corinthians, maybe chapter 7. Sorry for paraphrasing. Don't have a Bible with me. But anyway, so in there it talks about how, if I think St. Paul talks about, if you are to prevent, fornication, one man should be with his wife and one wife be with her husband. And that's the ideal, because even in the Old Testament, in the garden, there was only one man and one woman. So God's ultimate plan was for one man and one woman, not one man, multiple
Then,
women. And that's
then
not
why was
the,
everybody in the Bible with multiple wives? Like you're
because
saying something that's not true. The New Testament does not put the restriction on the man. Give me the exact verse where it does that.
1 Corinthians 7. So what I'm
Even if
saying is that in the,
even if you were right about the verse that you brought up, you can't deny that the rest of the Bible exists where all of these men have multiple wives or wives and concubines, and it's not a sin. It is not an issue at all. So you still have to contend with that. Like, even if your one verse does say that, you still have to contend with the rest of it, where it's literally
so
all
Then
over the Bible.
the verse you gave me doesn't say one wife, it says own wife. In other words, he can have, it doesn't say anything about you're only allowed to have the one. It just says he can only sleep with his own wife. Doesn't mean that he can't have multiples. It doesn't say that.
Yeah, he
So
can't
wait,
he
am I
can't
the
sleep
only
with
one
other
who
people's property.
wait? Am I the only one who knows that wife is singular
Verse 4
here?
says,
Like,
the wife does not have authority over her own body, but the husband does. Likewise, the husband does not have authority over his own body, but the wife does. Do not deprive one another, except perhaps by agreement for a set time to devote yourselves to prayer, and then come together again, so that Satan may not tempt you because of your lack of self-control. This
yeah,
is
he's
all. This is
talking
about
about
sexual
him.
immorality, man. But
It's
this says
literally
it's not even good for a
sets the
man to touch a
ideal
woman.
through, despite the fact that it talks about immorality. It shows the ideal
This
and
says
the
it's not even
natural
good to be
way
married.
that God.
It says, to the
Yeah, he's
unmarried and the
talking about his
widows,
own
I say it
preference
is
there.
good for them to remain unmarried as I am. To the married, I give this command, but not I, but the Lord, that the wife should not separate from her husband, but if she does separate, let her remain unmarried, or else reconciled to her husband, and that the husband should not divorce his wife. this is all saying you shouldn't even get married. Like, if you're not married, it's just saying don't stay married because the end's coming.
See,
This
even
is
in the
wild.
even in the Bible, they were telling us to choose bear. You know?
My God, don't tell me I have to start. Okay, so I don't
Let's
want to
get out that
start
garden hose and get biblical, man.
explaining. Okay, I don't want to start explaining on matrimony
Well, you're not
and
even
all
supposed to
that.
get married.
It's
Like, just go have fun. The end's coming soon. The end is nigh.
You're just going to apply today's ceremonies and say today's standards to it. When back then marriage was a property ownership of a woman, it was a business deal between a bridegroom and the bride's father. There was no courtship. There was no love. There was no we love each other eternally
okay.
before God and rings exchanged. None of that was happening.
Okay, you say that there's no love, then why does the Bible strictly say, men, love your wives as Christ loved the church, meaning that you should be willing to die for your wife? So could you say that there's no love in that verse? Or
No, because
maybe
just because
you're
you're willing
saying
to
that,
die to defend your property doesn't mean that you are loving them.
bro, I
Women
literally
again were
said the
property.
verse
That's
says
where we
love
got
your,
that you are loving them.
bro, I
Women
literally
again were
said the
property.
verse
That's
says
where we
love
got.
your,
That's what they were considered 3/5 of a person.
Hey,
And this whole chapter is saying it's best not to get married in the first place.
can I read you a passage from the Bible real quick? It's Deuteronomy 21:15 through 17. It's commonly known as the right of the firstborn. If a man has two wives, one of them loved and the other disliked, and if both the loved and the disliked have borne him sons, the firstborn being the son of the one who is disliked, then on the day when he wills his possessions to his sons, he is not permitted to treat the son of the loved as the firstborn in preference to the son of the disliked, who is the firstborn. He must acknowledge as firstborn son of the one who is disliked, giving him a double portion of all that he has, since he is the first issue of his virility. The right of the firstborn is his.
okay,
Also,
so
that
I'm
day
going
in
to,
that passage doesn't mean 1,000
uh-huh.
years from now, just for side reference.
So, yeah, before I quickly go do something else, since I'm planning on doing something else, let me just answer that. So, in the Old Testament, some of the laws that were, done there or were spoken to the Jews or the Israelites was strictly for the Israelites, and most of those laws
That's not
don't
correct.
apply to.
Where does it say that?
Can I finish my statement?
No, because where does it say that that's the case? Where does it say it changes?
You could, bro, in the New Testament, I think it should be Galatians, if I'm correct. It talks about how we are not under the law as followers of the way. It talks
Then why
about
did
how we
Jesus tell
are
you how
not
to follow
under.
the old law?
Come again?
Why did Jesus say to specifically follow the old laws? Like that was literally the whole message he
Because
had.
God too, by the way.
during his time, while he was before the resurrection, he talked about how he's the fulfillment of the law.
Right,
So he talks
fulfillment doesn't
about
mean to change or get rid of, though.
yes, exactly. So he comes to fulfill the law,
Right, but
and after
fulfill
he
does not
fulfills
mean
the law,
change or get rid of, though.
you know what? Finish talking, then I'll answer you
No,
after you're done.
I'm telling you, it does not mean to change or get rid of, though. Fulfill does not mean the law goes away.
Can I
Because
answer you
right
now?
after that, he says, I did not come to abolish them, for not a jot nor a tittle of the letter of the law will change until heaven and earth pass away. Heaven and earth haven't passed away.
I can answer now.
Please.
So when he says, I have come to fulfill the law, and he says he has not come to abolish or change the law, he's talking about what he's come to do. So he's, as I think you are not there when I was talking to this guy, I told him how God or Jesus came as the spotless lamb to, get
That
the
doesn't
judgment
change
that
what he
was supposed
said.
to. Can I finish
No, because
talking,
what you're
or
saying
like did
doesn't
we lose
answer my
manners
question.
nowadays?
Because what you're saying is not answering my question. Jesus said, not a jot, not a single letter of the law will change until heaven and earth pass away. So you saying he fulfilled the law doesn't change the fact that he said that. So was he lying when he said that, or did the law change?
So I'm going to answer you after you let me answer you, or you're just going
Okay,
to
answer
continue
that
running your mouth.
specifically. Don't go off on a tangent. Answer that specifically then.
I'm trying to. How can I go directly without explaining my answer?
It's not a hard
That doesn't make
concept.
sense.
Jesus' words were very direct and simple. So use those words. He said, not a single letter of the law will change until heaven and earth pass away. Was he lying, or did the law change?
He was not lying.
So the law
The
did
law
not
didn't
change.
change.
So the law
Yes,
did not
when
change.
the law did not change, bro. Let me
Okay,
answer for
so
crying out
why are
loud.
you following different laws then? If the law did not change and he did not change it, then why are you following other laws? Because his death didn't magically make that go away. He said what he said.
You're done?
Yeah, I'm waiting for you to respond to that directly to this.
That's what I'm trying to do.
Okay,
But
get
you
on with
keep
it.
on cutting in.
Go ahead.
So I said that when I said that the law has not been abolished or changed, right? And then I said that Jesus has come to fulfill that law. That I even explained that he was talking about how he has come to fulfill the law by actively doing it, and that's why we are not subjective to the law. We're not under the law because the Lord fulfilled it through his act.
No. You're saying he fulfilling the law means you don't have to follow it, even though he said the law will not change even after he dies, because heaven and earth have to pass away first. Have heaven and earth passed away?
No?
Okay, then why again are you trying to claim that the law changed? Because fulfill just
I
means you
never
followed
claimed
it to
that.
because fulfill just means you followed it to the letter. If you're telling me that that means the law changed, why would he then say not a single thing in the law will change until heaven and earth pass away? He's either lying or you're contradicting yourself. So either
I
the law
haven't.
exists or he changed it and then lied about it.
The law hasn't changed.
Okay, then him fulfilling it doesn't take it off of you. It just means he followed it to the letter. which is
Just
what you all are
because.
supposed to do, which is why he said that.
So,
Is right.
just
I mean, it's frustrating when you don't listen to the words you
no, it's
actually are
frustrating
reading.
when you're trying to speak and someone doesn't have manners to listen to you speak.
I
It's
heard your
frustrating, honestly.
explanation. You're telling me that fulfillment of the law somehow changes it, even though he said it would not change. Explain it. Explain
When
that
I say that the
contradiction.
law,
Explain that contradiction.
the law has not changed, it's still there, okay?
Okay. So you're
But
not
just
following them.
because.
Why?
So, look, we follow the law through the fulfillment of Christ. That's what
He
I'm
followed
talking
it
about.
perfectly. It said that you still have to
Yes,
follow it.
we follow it through the
Yeah, in
fulfillment
fact, it
of
says if
what
you
he
don't
did.
follow it better than the teachers and the Pharisees, you will never enter the kingdom of heaven.
Yes, we follow it through the fulfillment of what he did. So that's why I said faith through him fulfills it, bro.
That
D-
does
d-
not what that says, though.
yeah, you're missing the point.
Just because
Jesus
it
didn't
doesn't say
fulfill the
so.
law if Jesus. Well, hold on. Jesus can't have fulfilled the law if he says that the law will not be fulfilled until heaven and earth pass away. That's what fulfilling the law is. It's heaven and earth passing away. It's bringing in the second age, the end of the age.
To fulfill means to take it, okay? And to, actively do it to the ultimate purpose. And that's why we say that we do follow the law through faith in his fulfillment of it. Okay, that's what we say. The Bible doesn't strictly say that's what we do, but our
Wait.
theology and interpretation of the scriptures say that that's what we do. We follow it through the faith of his fulfillment.
So if God gives the law, do not murder, and then Jesse goes and schmurders because he believes Jesus fulfilled the law, which not murdering is part of the law, then that means you don't have to worry about it. You can go out and murder because Jesse was under that law, but Jesus fulfilled it. So now you can go out and murder, and it's fine because you still believe Jesus took care of that. You're saying it's okay
So,
for you to go. You're saying it's okay for you to go out and break those laws because Jesus fulfilled them for you. So you no longer have to follow those laws. Even though those laws still exist, you don't have to follow them because Jesus fulfilled them. Schmurdering is part of those laws.
okay,
So you don't have to follow that anymore. You can
tell
do whatever you
me,
want.
tell me the difference between moral laws and ceremonial laws.
Sir, what does that matter? None of that is differentiated when it says follow the
That's what
law.
I'm
Yeah,
trying
they're
to
not a difference
help you right
anyway. There's
now.
no category of laws in the Old Testament.
I'm trying to help you. So,
You're not
what's
helping
the
at
difference
all.
between moral? I'm trying to answer. So, what's the difference between ceremonial laws and moral laws?
You're answering by asking a question back?
First, I need you to understand the term, and then
It
I'll
doesn't
answer because
differentiate them in the
There's not a
Bible.
difference, man. That you can say that some of the laws are for ceremonial purposes, but the law itself in the Old Testament is not categorized like that. There's just various random laws. There's not. They're not like these are all moral. These are ceremonial, and these are whatever else. You know what I mean?
And Jesus never said you have to follow the old moral laws, but not the ceremonial laws and not these laws. He said the law. He never differentiated either.
Not one dot or stroke will pass from the law, is what he said, and that's all the law, all of them.
You're trying to make a
so
differentiation that Jesus never made.
look. My God. So anyway, when he says no, the law hasn't been changed or abolished, right? It simply means that he didn't come to remove the law, like just take it out of where it is because it's already there. But when I say that us Christians follow the law due to, the faith that we have in his fulfillment, it doesn't mean that, how can I put this? It doesn't mean that all of the laws don't have to be specifically followed, especially the moral laws. The moral laws talk about how we should live, because look at the Ten Commandments. Most Christians follow the Ten Commandments. That's one of the moral laws.
That's Old Testament
So
law.
so there's
How
there
come?
are
Well,
some
here's
moral.
the real problem. Here's what's really mixing you up is you get to Paul, and Paul says stuff like this. Paul says the hostility between us, abolishing the law with its commandments and ordinances, that he might create in himself one new humanity in place of the two, thus making peace. So here you've actually reached the pinnacle of the entire problem here. Paul is straight up saying the law is abolished. Sin is abolished. He's saying one man brought sin into the world, one man took it out. So Jesus is not saying that. Jesus is saying you have to keep that law, and the law will stand until heaven and earth pass away. So if Jesus is saying the law stands until heaven and earth pass away, and Paul is saying that he abolished it when he died, you have two very, very contradictory stories here. See the problem?
One the word of a man and one the word of your Jesus.
Yeah, like you're trying to preach for both. You're trying to. That's what you was doing earlier. You were saying, well, I can still sin and the law's still there, but I'm kind of forgiven, so it's kind of irrelevant. Like that's he dropped. Well, that was sort of the whole point there.
You know, we could just avoid all this by doing the sprinkler dance and like shooting, you know, squirting sin out into the world and not even fucking worry about it.
Right. I mean, he kept acting like it, it was
The
killing
fishes! I
me.
got a fish.
He kept acting so exasperated, but he kept contradicting himself. I'm like, dude, you can't sit there and say he fulfilled a law as if that gets rid of it, and then him follow it up with, I didn't come to abolish it, and it's not going to change. And then he never says, don't follow
I'm
it.
back. It timed out. Sorry, my
No worries.
network was shitty here.
You want to say something? I've really enjoyed talking to you, man. But we're gonna bring up the next person here. But do you want to say anything in closing? Like instead of just dropping.
Um, no, yeah, it was a great chat. I'll go do more investigation, and
Yeah, do that,
hopefully the
man.
next time I'm here, someone wants. Yeah, I just hope the next time I'm here, someone can just close their mouth. Yeah, you know. But yeah,
We'll make
thanks for
Douglas
the
be quiet
conversation.
next time so you can talk
Aw,
uninterrupted there.
it hurt his feelings.
Douglas.
Douglas. Douglas does like that, Trapper. We gotta calm him down every now and then. He's a passionate man. So.
That's right. Contradict, that's
But
not
anyway, yeah, we did enjoy the conversation there, though, Trapper. All right, so now we got Evie Sanchez. Are you there, Evie Sanchez? Oops, sorry. Oh, my bad. You was unmuting right when I was inviting you to unmute. Sorry. Come on up, Evie. Here, I'll send a line. That was my bad. Yeah, I wish Rita would come up here. Rita, request on up. All you got to do is, I tried to invite you, but I couldn't for some reason. But all you got to do is touch the little thingies down there. He hates those that don't follow him. Yeah, we know. That's what we hear.
But he's a loving God. Don't forget, he's a loving God who hates you. Thanks, Rita. We appreciate you. But come up and tell us how much you love Jesus. That sounds like a fun chat.
Yeah. That would be great. Evie, you gotta unmute there. That's 2 times that I accidentally muted you at the same time you was trying to unmute. But just unmute yourself and let us know if you're over 18 and you're a believer, please. I don't know what's happening.
They keep saying I'm right here, but in the chat. You have to unmute yourself on your screen. Like you're in the live. You have to unmute yourself and talk. There you go.
I sent an invite. There we go.
It was. I made that actually a little more complicated on accident. But sorry, Evie. Go ahead. You're here.
No, that's okay. Forget it. Hold on.
Yeah. So are you over 18? Hello.
They said, hold on. I might have been talking to somebody. I don't know.
Oh.
Oh, they said I just like listening to you. I think maybe it was an accidental.
Oh. All right. We'll put you
In the
back
I
chat.
see.
In the chat they said it's okay. I just like listening to you guys. I'm learning a lot.
No worries. No worries. Sure, Rita, come on up and school us. We would love some of your Holy Spirit knowledge up here.
Yeah, let's see how much the magic decoder ghost changes the words again.
Holy Spirit,
Right.
activate. Holy Spirit, activate. Can get Rita up here and activate the Holy Spirit. God sends his angels. Holy Spirit, activate. Come on, Rita.
Shita Makita Mahala Mahita. Rita.
Sorry. Yeah, I call it the magic decoder ghost because I swear I think it makes the Bible words literally form different words in front of them as they read it. Because they always tell me the
It's
craziest shit.
opposite day when you read the Bible.
They tell me the craziest shit.
Yeah, we read it every day, Rita.
Yeah, we
We
do.
read it to believers.
We've all read it. I've studied it in
It is
school and
beautiful.
in college. We know it. It's not beautiful. Oh my God. Have you read it? Because if you say it's beautiful, I doubt you've read it. I just don't believe you. Oh, hey,
Here, I'll read you some. Let's read a beautiful prophecy from God. It says, "Whoever is found will be thrust through, and whoever is caught will fall by the sword. Their infants will be dashed to pieces before their eyes. Their houses will be plundered, and their wives will be raped. See, I am stirring up the Medes against them who have no regard for silver, do not delight in gold. Their bows will slaughter the young men. They will have no mercy on the fruit of the womb, and their eyes will not pity children. And Babylon, the glory of the kingdoms and the splendor of the pride of Chaldeans, will be like Sodom and Gomorrah when God overthrew them." Isn't that beautiful?
absolutely
Did you like
beautiful.
that, Douglas?
It's just gorgeous. Just
I
so
think
inspiring.
I think I might like Douglas better than Douglas.
I've been called so many things because none of them can read, which is why I doubt that they read the Bible because they call me Dougland, Dougal, Douglas, Douglald. Like, I've heard all kinds of shit. I've heard even some just Douglad, like just all the things. And Douglas. And Doug.
Douglas, my favorite, I think. That's the best one I've heard so far. Hey, let's read some more beautiful words of God. This one's from Hosea 13. It says, "Samaria shall bear her guilt because she has rebelled against her God, and they shall fall by the sword, and her little ones shall be dashed to pieces, and their pregnant women ripped open." How beautiful is that, Douglas?
It's so inspiring. Like, just makes you want to go out and do all the good, right?
It makes me want to, instead of doing the sprinkler dance for, to squirt out sin, it makes me want to do the sprinkler dance to squirt out Holy Spirit. That's what that makes me want to do.
It all sounds
All over
dirty to me.
Mm-hmm.
Oh, that's not sin though. So don't begin to twist it out there if you're listening and thinking that's a sin, because it's not. It's spreading the Holy Spirit
It's
all
all
over the
just
place.
so beautiful.
Especially if you don't know you're doing it, it does not count. Y'all heard the last gift.
It's just all so beautiful.
It
Hey,
is.
hey, Ape, did you know it's a holiday today in Alabama?
Oh my gosh. Is it?
It is. We have a state holiday today. Would you like to know what it is today in Alabama?
I absolutely would like to know so I can celebrate properly.
Confederate Memorial Day.
What? People celebrate that shit.
Yeah,
What?
yes, like state offices are closed, driver's license offices are closed. Yes, it is Confederate Memorial Day in Alabama. And I know for sure there's two, but I think there's a third state holiday in Alabama celebrating the Confederacy. The other one that I know for sure is celebrated on Martin Luther King Day. It's also Robert E. Lee Day. But today is Confederate Memorial Day in Alabama.
They
Wow.
fucking
Yeah, I had no
lost,
idea.
and they're traitors. Why the? I'm so irritated with this country.
The thing that kills me is the Confederacy was around about the same amount of time we're all in high school. 4 years. That's it. 4 years. That's not fucking heritage. That's high school.
Yeah, it's
What's funny?
not too
But
much to
they'll
be
say,
proud of, in my opinion.
but they'll tell us to get over slavery. Tell black people to get over slavery, but that should happen for hundreds of years. Make it make fucking sense.
I know. Rita, you know what's funny? It is sick. I agree with you, but I don't need Jesus to tell me that. You do. Why? You want to come up and talk about it?
In the Father's house. I'm at my house. God didn't pay property taxes over up in here.
That would be nice, wouldn't it?
Yeah, it would actually. I would
I
probably
am
consider
just
my
noticing you
views
have a
if God
Buddha.
wasn't, completely fucking useless.
Oh,
I
yeah,
am
I
just
know.
noticing your Buddha back there on the rocks.
I got two Buddhas back there. I have both. I've got like the Indian type Buddha and the Asia type Buddha, like the big bald guys, the more China type Buddha. Who said something?
I love it. I was just sitting here looking. I was like, "Is that a Buddha back there?" Yeah, it sure is.
That is the Buddha. That is the Buddha. I'm a Buddhist, if you didn't know that.
I
I'm
love
into
it.
Buddhism, so a double Buddhism. I'm into Indian and Asian Buddhism.
There just sounds
Hey,
like a
best
lot of
both worlds.
videos in this conversation.
Yeah, yeah, totally is. So, all right. So there is no one in the guest queue. So I tell you what, we'll give it a couple minutes. If you are a Christian and you want to talk about the topic here, just touch the little whatever those are, either right here or maybe over here,
Easy.
depending on your layout. Just touch this man and woman with your fingers.
Easy.
Here
Make
or
sure
here.
to get consent
I didn't say touch them
first.
with a garden hose, Douglas. Take it easy, man. Jeez.
GE's in the chat.
Jeez.
GE's in the chat over here also saying that he's also a Buddhist.
Oh, that's cool. Welcome to the world of reality,
But he spells
the
it
very
different.
pleasurable world of Buddhism.
Yeah, he spells it a little different, but it's true. I concur.
Spelled it different. How'd they spell it?
He speaks in
That's a
ancient booty.
blasphemous spelling. You can't do that. You're desanctifying the word there is what you're doing. Hey, take it
He's
easy down there now. We
he's
can't
he's
be.
he's a Buddhism man.
That's so nasty.
I know.
That's a
He's
sin in the eyes.
well. I mean,
No, wait, that's Christianity. It's not nasty.
hey, Kent
Never mind.
Hovind called it years ago when he said to John, "What are you, a pervert or something?" I mean, he called it. He's been right about at least one thing.
Well, when they can come up with a moral argument that actually makes sense for why I shouldn't be a pervert, well, then fine. I don't care.
Is that what they were talking about? Whale penis?
Yes, that was in the same debate. Yeah.
He meant the animal, the whale, right? Not just like a whale penis. Like,
I mean, I'm pretty. Yeah. He
you know
meant
what I
the
mean?
animal.
Like whale sized.
Yeah, he meant the
Okay,
animal.
the animal.
Yeah, because he was talking
It probably
about the
was being a
vestigial
pervert.
limbs, right?
I mean, I find whales pretty hot, personally. So.
Hey, they used to be in the manatees. They thought they were mermaids. What do you do?
Hey, I would totally be all over a whale if they could actually consent. Since I don't know, I don't take any chances. But like, I mean, I might go wave high, buddy. On the maybe I don't know, maybe like a blue whale. Like they're pretty nice. So, but either way, they can't consent. So no blowhole for Buddhism. Blue whales.
The difference is
Y'all stop
Z-Dog.
laughing at that. That's not even funny. Just stop.
Z-Dog in the
My
chat
goodness.
asked, "What's the difference of y'all doing this or people making fun of the LGBTQ community genuine?" Okay, so being LGBTQ is not a choice. It's not a choice.
Yeah.
People choose to be, and I don't think that you necessarily choose what you believe, but people do choose to be part of a religion. and to indoctrinate their kids into that religion. And I mean, most of the time we're not making fun of religious people. We're just talking to them about what they believe and why it's wrong. But sometimes we do make jokes. But yeah, also Christians aren't a marginalized community. So not in America, not in the US. So that's
Yeah,
the
no
difference.
point did I wake up and decide I like guys. I just do. Same way you like, I'm assuming, girls if you're a guy, as a straight person. I never asked for this. I never wanted it. I never made a decision about it. It just is.
No,
And there's absolutely squat wrong with it. So
no, Z-Dog, your sexuality is not a choice. That's just incorrect. You're wrong. So that's a
Z-Dog?
huge
dumb to
problem.
say.
Give me the date, Z-Dog, that you made the decision to be straight.
Yeah, that would be. I decided to be attracted to whatever I'm attracted to. Made like a list, looked it over, like, I kind of like this, maybe.
It's not
Like
hypocritical.
you checking it off on a list or some shit. Like,
It's not hypocritical, Z-Dog. You just don't know what the fuck you're talking about. Like, that's all. And it's fine. But maybe you should try to, learn and grow and do better. That's the goal, right? Be a better person. You should try it.
all right, so we got a new guest, Christ-like Radio 99. Are you there?
Good day, I am.
Hey, are you over 18, Christ-like Radio?
Yep.
Awesome. Are you one of the Christians? Are you Christ-like?
Yeah.
All right, cool. So, would you like to tell us why we should be a Christian, or would you like us to tell you why no one should be one?
Yeah, why shouldn't I be?
Because the Bible isn't true. It made up stuff about Jesus. There's no way Jesus is who the Bible says he is my main problem. But also, God is just really horrible either way.
How you came to that conclusion?
Well, just for example, like if you start reading these prophecies that Matthew is saying Jesus is fulfilling, like in chapter 1 and 2, he says 5 explicit prophecies from the Old Testament, right? But if you actually just go read them, they're all just mistranslations or taken out of context, and some aren't even there. They're just completely fabricated prophecies. So Jesus can't fulfill these prophecies. He's not the prophecy fulfiller.
I see. Should I be a Muslim?
No. I mean, if you want to be, but not based on like any kind of facts or like Muslim or Islam being like true in a realistic sense.
So I shouldn't be quote unquote religious.
You can be religious if you want, but if you like interested in knowing if it's true or not in reality, then that's a kind of a different question. But this can't be true, so I don't think you should be a Christian because it's not true.
But many would argue that when it comes to Christianity and especially the Bible, there are many historians, many theologians that would bring many manuscripts that would line up with what we have as the Bible today. How would you debunk stuff like that? Because remember, the
Just
Bible,
read it.
the Bible, it's not just a book where someone just presented it. There are manuscripts dating way back to back up the scriptures.
What's
how
a
would you-
manuscript? What do you think a manuscript is?
Well, my understanding is what is pulled from what was written from persons back in those days.
Right.
It's just
a
handwritten.
Yeah, it's just a handwritten document, which is how they, before a printing press, that's how they got everything. So the documents you're talking about, the manuscripts you're talking about, almost all of them, except for the earliest ones we have, are all just copies of each other. The volume of manuscripts doesn't do anything to prove its validity.
Yeah,
Besides, we can just read them. They don't like. It doesn't add up. It doesn't matter.
but you will understand that's how we get our history on many different things.
Only if they
Because
corroborate and have actual evidence for them. Like the Iliad and the Odyssey are technically historical documents and manuscripts, but we know they're not true because there's nothing to corroborate the stories within. Same thing with the Bible. There's nothing that corroborates those stories. Hell, most of the figures it even gets wrong.
well, I would disagree with that because there are studies that show at the bottom of the Red Sea there are fragments
No,
from.
sir, that's not true. That's a Ron
Shit.
White lie that comes out every 10 years, one of many. There's no DNA. The tombs are
I'm not
not
talking.
proven.
Yeah, but
There's
I'm
no
talking
there's
about.
no ark at the top of the mountain, and there's no chariots at the bottom of the Red Sea. None of those things have actually been found, sir.
So the release that was released, I think maybe over a week ago, where they found
Again,
that.
literally, this stuff has been said for 30, 40 years now. Or no, maybe not quite that long, but for decades now. The guy who originally said it was a nurse named Ron White. He went around and he said he discovered all these things, including the chariots at the bottom of the sea, the ark on top of Mount Ararat, Jesus's DNA, like all these things he said he found, but never
Yeah. And in
actually
reality, if he
proven.
would have actually found even one of those things, he would be a household name. He would literally be one of the most famous people on the planet if he actually proved even one of the things he says he found.
Right. And
So recently, the recent release that was done, I think it was on Fox News, one of those news outlets. That's not true.
no, find me a source that proves it. Just because that news source said it doesn't mean it's true. Find me the source of the
Yeah,
people who
that's
found it.
like just for example, that supposed chariot wheel at the bottom of the Red Sea was literally just a photograph. Nobody even grabbed it and brought it back up and studied it, and it wasn't even a chariot wheel. It was the steering wheel from a more modern ship. It was the wheel. It wasn't an actual wheel. It was a steering wheel, not a guide wheel. And the Bible doesn't even say that the ark landed on Mount Ararat. The Bible says that the ark landed in the mountains of Ararat. That's a huge entire region that encompasses almost all of southern Turkey and northern Syria. So it's not even a general geographic location. It's a huge, huge span of space. So there's no Mount Ararat. That's just another translation thing. But he didn't find any of that.
But if you go for instance, persons who, well, I never did it, but persons who visit Jerusalem and those places, they would give you the step by step areas where Jesus actually walked, where he. So
They
those
can
are
Right.
do
Yeah.
they do the same
Yeah, if
thing
you
in
show up in
Israel.
Jerusalem, oh,
so
sorry. If you show up in Jerusalem and a cab pulls up and the cab driver says, "Where do you want to go?" And I say, "The tomb of Jesus," he's going to say, "There's three of them. Which one do you want to go to?" What would you think about that?
he said he was sorry, I didn't get that.
So I tell a cab driver in Jerusalem that I want to go to Jesus' tomb and see the tomb, right? The cab driver would say to me, "Which one? There's three of them. Which one would you tell him to go to? Which one's the real tomb of Jesus?"
Well, I couldn't answer that, but what I'm saying is that
Well,
you
please
would
do.
no, I said I wouldn't be able to answer to tell you which one is
Oh,
the
yeah.
but the point I'm making is that these are persons who would show you different areas where Jesus actually went. So all these people, they just made that up.
Yeah, because you know
Yeah.
that there are people in there that can do the same thing for Muhammad in Israel based on holy sites of their own.
No, but
Same
Muhammad
thing.
was a
Same
real
thing with
person.
Jewish people and various holy sites for them. They can do the same thing. It doesn't make it real because somebody can make up something and tell you that that's what happened.
Yeah, but Muhammad was a real person.
No- mm.
Well,
Was
there's contemporary evidence for Muhammad. Jesus has none of that.
so
There's no contemporary at all, even within 50 years of Jesus' lifetime, arguably at the best.
What's the evidence for Muhammad?
there's contemporary sources. He has actual things, like people were saying he did this at a certain time that we're talking about something else, but there's surviving writings from his bride, his 6-year-old bride. She wrote stuff herself.
But yeah, but that you basically
Well,
explaining the
well,
Bible.
there's no writings from Mary or Joseph or Jesus or John or Paul. Well, there's writings from Paul, arguably, but Peter, like none of them actually wrote anything.
Yeah,
Matthew,
but
Mark.
not because Mary didn't write. That doesn't mean whatever didn't happen.
It does mean that because we have literally nothing from her. This is
Well,
how it
that's what
works
I'm
when it
saying.
comes
Yeah.
to people in history. To confirm somebody in history, we usually have to have not just a writing about the person, but usually we have to have something that corroborates their existence. For example, more than one writing about that person from people of that time, writings from that person, family members of that person, items and artifacts from that person. Or hell, Caesar, for example, had coins minted with his likeness on it. We know they existed because there are things that corroborate it. Outside of the Bible, we don't have the things that you're saying we have. We just don't.
If you're interested, we have an actual scholar up in the house too.
Yeah, the
His
evidence,
brain is like a garden a garden hose of knowledge. It just shoots out knowledge like crazy, like, all over the place.
but the evidence are there, but you just don't accept it.
What evidence?
Must
So
be proven evidence.
I just mentioned about the ark, also the chariot wheels.
It's not about proof. It's not about not accepting it. It's about proving it. That's not proven. That's a claim they're making, and they're not showing the proof of it.
Well, but the proof was there under the news outlet.
No,
The
it's
news
not. The
broadcast.
news outlet is not true. We're
The
telling you,
measure-
this is a debunked old thing.
They measured the markings of the ark. That was 33 cubits, as the Bible said. You know, but as I say, you don't accept it.
So, Christian, let me ask you a question. Let's say we grant that there's a big boat up there. Why would you think it's Noah's boat?
Because of the measurements, the shape of it, it's an ancient it's an ancient design and different things like that.
Right. Why wouldn't you think it's Utanapishtim's or Atrahasis's?
Because of the era that it is.
What era?
It's on a mountain. Who's gonna
Yeah. Do you know who Utanapishtim or Atrahasis or Zeusudra were?
Excuse me?
Do you know who Atrahasis or Zeusudra or Utanapishtim were?
No, I don't.
Yeah, they're the flood heroes, right? They're the protagonists from the flood story that the Bible got their flood story from.
That's not true.
Oh, it certainly is.
It's an epic
It's-
of Gilgamesh.
yeah, it certainly is.
The Bible
You can read it.
the Bible didn't get its plot story from any historian or scientist.
I don't know what you mean by historian. It utilizes the Atrahasis flood story. That's what it does. And that's settled scholarship, has been for gracious over a century.
Yeah, Zeus had a flood story too. Zeus got pissed at all the men and ordered a worldwide flood. And a guy named Decadalus built an ark and escaped the flood because Prometheus warned him that the flood was coming.
What I would say is that they got that from the Bible.
No,
Well, the problem with that is that I can show you the cuneiform tablet that predates the biblical text by more than a millennium. Like we can go see it at the Penn Museum.
No,
And-
I wouldn't
and-
doubt
and
that there
Cra-
wasn't writing. I wouldn't doubt that there wasn't writings before manuscripts of the Bible, because that would be crazy. There were many writings before, dated way back before the Bible. But at the same time, persons can write many different stuff, but it comes down to what you believe and what you don't believe.
Well,
Christ,
no,
like
I
they-
think
sorry. I would real quick, and then I'll let Josh do his thing. They even acknowledge these stories that predate the biblical flood narrative in the Ark Encounter. Do you know what the Ark Encounter is?
The Ark Encounter.
Yes. Have you heard of that?
I can't remember. Maybe.
It's a Noah's flood ark that's like literally built in Kentucky, the ark. I'm pretty sure it's to the measurements of the ark in the Bible, and it's kind of like a theme park-ish, but it's built by oh God, somebody help me.
It's
Ken
built-
Ham.
Yeah, it's built by his organization. It's called the Creation. It has a Creation Museum in it.
Well, the Creation Museum is a separate
Oh,
building.
that's right. Yeah, it is separate.
Yeah,
I just
yeah,
know
but-
Kentucky lost a lot of money on it when we spent.
Yeah, they did.
Oh my God,
They
we
did.
lost so much money on it.
Yeah, but the Ark Encounter is this museum that is specifically dedicated to this, right? To the flood. And they even acknowledge stories that predate the Noah's Ark narrative in the Bible. So Josh is absolutely correct. There are predating stories that led to this.
With the specifics from the Bible, the measurements and the different rooms and everything like that.
Sorry, you were kind of muffled.
Yeah, I was asking, did they build the ark with the same specifics
Yes.
from the Bible? The
Yes.
length and
Yes.
stuff like that?
Yes. Yes.
Yeah. Same in Sumerian and Greek.
Yeah, I mean, I
They're
think
two totally different things. They're converging on the same story.
I think the problem that you're going to face here is that linguistically, it's pretty clear that Genesis 6 through 9 is dependent upon the story that's found in Gilgamesh Tablet 11, which is coming from Atrahasis.
That's part of the. Is that part of the Imago Mundi tablet, Dr. Joe?
Yeah, so like that is it's like another like version of the story.
The irony of the Ark Encounter is they did build it to specifications, but it flooded after rain damage, and they had to sue their insurance company for the money.
I know that was the first year. That shit, I lost
Isn't it
my
funny?
shit. But to be fair, the boat was not part of the flood problem. It was actually, it was part of the land, but still
It's still
hilarious.
funny.
Irony.
I thought that was a fake story. It was so ironic. And
Yeah,
then
it
I
was
like, oh
Right.
shit.
totally real.
So you would agree that the other writings of the Ark, along with the Bible, all of them are totally just fables?
You're kind of muffled now. I heard fables.
I don't know. You hear me better now?
I'll try it. A little bit.
Yeah, I was saying the other writings that you said are flood or ark writings, along with the Bible, they are all fables. They are not true.
Well, they're mythological texts that are used to explain the world around them.
Yeah, it's just stories, man. Like they arguably made the ark big enough for every animal in the world, right? But in reality, the only world they knew was a small area of the globe there. So I mean, it was every animal in the world was all the animals in that tiny area, which was
Imagine
still
a
need a big ass
walrus.
ark.
Imagine a walrus trying to tusk its way across the desert. Like, let's be realistic.
Yeah. Yeah, there wasn't a walrus compartment on the ark.
Oh, come on now. There were penguins and everything.
Well, they could swim. So, well, walruses could swim too, but that's beside the point.
Not for that long, they can't.
That's true.
Thank you.
They could just drift out there. Though.
Yeah,
I
thanks.
wasn't doing the
But
water hose; it was the
good
drift.
conversation. I'll do some research on what you spoke about. Thanks again. Thanks for bringing me up.
Oh, no problem. No problem.
Cool.
Guess he was saying that was the up there.
I
I
have to.
actually have a video on this on my channel. If anybody's interested, I did a little how they like know that the Imago Mundi tablet and stuff was linked to the Hebrew Bible and all that. I actually got a video of that on my channel I made.
You know, it's I
Short.
haven't heard the boat on top of the mountain thing is Noah's Ark. I haven't heard that argument in a while, in a good while.
It's been coming up a lot lately.
Really?
Yeah.
Well, you know, the Ark Encounter protest is coming up in July, I think July 12th. Are you coming, Dugald?
I didn't know there was one in July. We'll have to go take a peep at that.
July 12th, John and I will be there. Seth
Ooh.
Andrews will be there. Mandisa Thomas will be there. The Detroit Atheist Queen will be there. Godless Granny. It's going to be Joe, the Kentucky Atheist, is the guy that puts it together. It's going to be a fun time. Oh, No Illusions. I don't know if you know him.
Well, I mean, I grew up in northern Kentucky. I live in Cincinnati now, so I'm not that far. Only a few hours.
Yeah, Seth Andrews and No Illusions are having an event in Cincinnati the night before, and John and I will be at that too, helping run it. And then we'll be doing the Ark Encounter protest the next day, and then that Sunday night, July 12th, we are going back to Cincinnati to see Pinkbeard perform. He'll be in Cincinnati that night.
I'm going to check that out for sure then, too. I didn't know he was going to be in Cincinnati.
Yeah, I can't remember the event venue he said, but
Probably Bogarts. It's usually the one that we
no,
go.
it's not that one. It's one I have never heard of.
I'll have to look.
I'll find it and I'll DM it to you.
All right, thank you.
Awesome. We got real quick before I introduce, we got a couple new guests here. If you meet my 100 rose gold, I will feed the fishes, and they like that, and it's fun to watch. So just throwing that out there. 33, are you there, my man? New guest number 33. You'll have to unmute yourself and speak up. 33, are you there? 33. I'll try. I think we just hit the fish goal again. He's teacup. Hell yeah, let's feed some fishes. Y'all want to see the fish eat, don't you? Everybody likes the fish eat. I'm sure they like that too. Dude, the comments cracked me up. I can't even remember who said it in the comments earlier. But I said, if you meet my goal, we'll feed the fish. And the guy says, that's right. Otherwise, they'll starve. Yeah. Make sure you're gifted so the fish don't starve. There they go. Eat fishes. That's expensive food. Look at them. They're in a feeding frenzy. They're cray cray. Look at them go! Oh my god! Yeah, I don't think. Homeschool Mama 02. She must have requested up on accident. Yeah, they gluttonous as shit. Yeah, no worries. It happens all the time. 33. No worries at all. Anyway, I'll give it a couple more minutes, and if somebody wants to request up, just touch the little people icon thingy down here.
I think Princess was asking if she could come up.
Oh, good. Yeah, I've noticed it's a little confusing for some people if the request thing's not on the screen. If this is all there is the little icon thing.
While we're waiting for Princess, Glitter in the chat said, I have fed the fish in downtown Huntsville. If you're in Huntsville, October 23rd through the 25th, you should come to Rocket City Reason, conference for atheists and skeptic and deconstruction online content creators. It's going to be a great time. Check it out, rocketcityreason.com.
Hell yeah. They're going to be squirting knowledge all over the place there.
We're all going to be here except Dr. Josh. I hope Dr. Josh can come, but we don't know. But Dugald will be there. I will be there. Godless Engineer will be there. Apostate Ape will be there. It'll be super fun.
Heck yeah. Dr. Josh, if you get bored one day, take like I can't even remember, it's only like 3 or 4 minutes, but watch my little video I made on the Amongo Mundi tablet and tell me if I can make that more accurate if I said something. I know I said
Okay.
something wrong. I said the wrong year on one of the guys. But
Yeah, I'll definitely take a look.
yeah, if you get bored, do a scholarly review of that for me there, which I made it based off Irvin Finkel's Art Before Noah video.
Also, Katie in the chat had some concerns about being a trans woman, not sure on your safety. So the hotel is where the event is and everybody is staying is an LGBTQ friendly hotel. We are having a drag show there on Friday. One of our speakers is a trans woman, and we have multiple other trans people coming to the event. If you don't feel safe, I completely understand, but just so you know, it's very LGBTQ plus friendly.
It absolutely will be, and it's a shame that you realistically have to think that. I mean, it is Alabama, but it will be a very friendly environment, we assure you. And if anybody unfriendly is that environment, they will be promptly elbowed. Quite hard.
The transgender speaker is Arden Hart. She's a host for one of our panels. And I believe as long as he gets the time from his work, Dr. Ben will be there. And there are some other trans people who have bought tickets that I'm aware of. So
Yeah, it's going to be awesome. It'll be a friendly for anybody environment there. There ain't no hate up in the atheist community based on that kind of nonsense of discriminations. Well, I thought we had Princess coming up, but I guess not. Yeah, there will be no discrimination of any sorts there.
yeah, we also have a pretty decent code of conduct that everybody who attends has to agree to for the entirety of the event, even after hours. So, there's that.
Absolutely. Absolutely. Hey, Princess, are you there?
Hi, can you hear me?
Yeah, we can hear you just fine. Are you over 18 and are you a Christian?
Yeah, I'm 24 and I'm a non-denominational Christian.
Cool. So did you have something you wanted to bring up already, or do you want us to just tell you why we think no one should be a Christian?
Yeah, I just wanted to maybe like have a discussion as opposed to a debate because like I'm not very good at debating this
Oh, that's
topic.
fine. Yeah, man, whatever.
I can just tell you the reason why I am a Christian is because I just love Jesus and I agree with a lot of his teachings. And I don't know, I just feel called to be a Christian, if that makes sense. Yeah, that's what I wanted to say.
Okay. So do you think all of Jesus's teachings are good?
I would say a majority of them are good. Maybe there's a few that I disagree with, but I do think that when I say that I love Jesus's teachings, I'm talking about doing things like loving one another, serving one another, and also when you have someone who is treating you cruelly, the response is to not like stoop down to their level and treat them cruelly, but rather like treat them with respect and things like that, you know?
Sure. Yeah, that sounds fine. So you you would agree with like Levitic law then?
Levitical law, not. I would say most of the things, no, I don't agree with that. I don't agree with like the verses on slavery and things like that. There might be like some things that I kind of disagree with, like don't unalive animals or don't sleep with animals or whatever. But for the most part, yeah, a lot of them are not good in modern society.
So
Oh, I'm sorry.
no, you're the host. Go ahead.
Well, I was just going to say, so that passage that Jesus quotes that says is one of the greatest of two commands is Levitic law, that love your neighbor as yourself. So So you would agree with that, but you wouldn't agree with laws like slavery's okay.
Yeah, I would definitely not disagree with, sorry, I would definitely not agree with that. Because I just obviously I think that is very immoral. And this is where it kind of gets confusing to me because when I do speak to people who are working in ministry and I ask them, how are Christians supposed to respond to this topic? They tell me that Christians are not supposed to be supporting slavery, right? So,
You know what it sounds like to me, Princess? It sounds to me like you have decent discernment, meaning that you can read the theology of your religion and you can look at it and you can say, these things, even though they're supported by my religion, are bad. And these things that are also supported by my religion are good. And so you're making a moral determination of the things in your religion on an individual level yourself. So what that tells me about you is that you already have this moral discernment on your own. Your Bible isn't telling you what's good and bad. You're looking at it and determining for yourself what you think is good and bad. And so I would argue you don't actually need the Bible for that because you already know what's good and bad.
yeah, I would say so. I do think that like there are things that we can agree 100% in society that are wrong, right? Like, you know, slavery, like assaulting people, rape, all of those things, right? But I do think that there are some like moral quandaries that like people have disputes over, right? So for example, the issue of divorce. Is it moral to divorce your spouse if they've done something that you don't like? I would say no, but maybe other people would say yes, you know? So, see,
What do you
I
think
don't know,
Jesus
man.
says about that?
He says you shouldn't unless there's infidelity.
Yeah, he says you're actually guilty of adultery if you're a woman and a man divorces you on the grounds, any grounds except for sexual immorality. So, according to Jesus, you should be stoned to death if a man divorces you except on the grounds of sexual immorality.
Right. And even if a woman leaves her husband because he abuses her, do you think that that's immoral?
Wait, sorry, say that again. You're saying if a man abuses a woman and the wife leaves him.
Yes. Do you think, just how you think, do you think that that's immoral? Because there's not
No,
an
I think.
there's not
Sorry,
an
go ahead.
exception because there's not an exception in the Bible for abuse. So, but you said no, you don't think it's immoral if a woman divorces her husband if he's abusive?
I think it's perfectly fine for you to divorce your husband if he's being abusive and vice
Okay.
versa. I think it's
Mhm.
okay for a man to divorce his wife if she's being abusive.
Fair.
And I would say, yes, there is no like explicit like verse in the New Testament, as far as I am aware of, that you can say it's allowed in this case because that issue is not addressed at all. But
Mhm.
I will say that when I have asked like pastors and stuff about it, they said yes, you can leave if you're being abused.
Right, that's another
So that's going
example.
directly against Jesus, yeah.
Yeah, and that's another example of what I'm talking about. Y'all are using your own personal discernment. You're not using your theology to justify that behavior. You're using your own discernment. So you don't need the Bible for that.
Yeah, I see, I don't know about that because it's like, I do see where you're coming from, Casey, but at the same time, I'm looking at the world around me, right? Regardless of religion, whether it's like Christianity, Islam, and Hinduism, or whatever religion it is, there's so many people who are doing like blatantly immoral things, right? Like, you know, there's so much rape, there's so much abuse, there's so much discrimination, and it makes me really question, like, if this morality is inherent, then why are so many people going against morality? You know?
Oh, I'm not saying it's inherent. Sorry, that was not what I was trying to communicate. What I was because it's not inherent to everyone. I'm just talking about like you and the people you're talking about. You know, when you talk to the pastors and stuff, it seems like that's what you all are doing. I agree that it's not necessarily inherent, but it's also not necessarily biblical. So my point is, morality can come from outside of the Bible, and some of the same things we would share, like the golden rule isn't owned by the Bible, right? Christianity didn't make that up. So like we can find that outside of the Bible. And when you're trying to make determinations about what's right and wrong, you're not using the text, you're using your own discernment. And so, because if you're saying anything in the Bible is wrong that the Bible doesn't say is wrong, that's you determining it for yourself. And so that's coming from somewhere. And I agree there are bad people that do bad things, and Christians too, right? You'd agree there are Christians who most people would say, "Oh, they're a good Christian person," but there are Christians who do bad things too. Rape, murder, all that kind of stuff. Yeah.
Absolutely. There's too many Christians who engage in DV, definitely, or
Yeah.
DV apologetics.
Yeah, so even Christians can not follow the good things that you're talking about. So that's just my argument, is that Christianity's not, it's not necessary for any of that.
Okay. I definitely see where you're coming from. So, if I may ask you, like, do you have a belief in God, or would you say maybe you're agnostic or atheist?
So I'm an agnostic atheist, and what I mean by that is I do not believe in any deities because there's no evidence that deities exist, but I don't know for sure that there is no kind of deity out there anywhere, right? Because there's not evidence that that's not really how evidence works, right? I can't prove there's nothing, but I also don't see any evidence, so I'm agnostic atheist.
That makes sense to me. I would say that, like, probably one of the biggest reasons that I'm Christian, like outside of Christ's teachings and things like that, is because I don't have any like physical evidence, but I just kind of have this like intuition that he exists and that he is God, and
It makes
I
you
just
feel
kind
good?
of. Well, I mean, it's not necessarily that it makes me feel good, because sometimes I do feel like convicted and things like that. So it doesn't always make me feel good, but it does make me kind of like, okay, so let's say, for example, there was a time in my life that I was also agnostic, and I was agnostic for like a few weeks before I started thinking like, oh no, he has to exist. I mean, like, I feel like worshiping him and praying to him all the time. So he has to exist and he is God. Now, I'm not saying that people should be forced into that or anything, but I don't know, that's kind of what makes me keep going back to being Christian, even when I feel like not being Christian anymore, because it's like, it's just that inherent feeling. I can't really describe it 100%.
That's fair, but why does he have to exist? What function does that is required for God's existence? Like what is that thing that makes him absolutely necessary?
I'm not sure I would say it's necessary. I would just say more so it's just a feeling that he exists, right?
Okay, so God doesn't have to exist. You just feel like he has to exist. It's not, you can't point to any individual thing that would require his existence.
I've heard of people calling this feeling gnosis, where they just have this feeling, this connection with God, and in my case, it just happens to be Jesus. So I don't know if that answers your question a little bit better.
I mean, it kind of confirms what I was getting at earlier, that it's a feeling. It's based on a feeling. I'm not trying to criticize. I'm just saying for you, it's based on a feeling.
Yeah.
Okay, so there's no evidence. Evidence for you is not necessary. You don't really care too much about evidence because the feeling is enough for you.
I would say, okay, so in terms of evidence, I would say that I still definitely look at evidence, and I have tried to like educate myself a little bit more on the history of Christianity and the early church. Like, I was reading this book by Bart Ehrman, and he kind of helped me understand some things that I was confused about. And so it is important, but I would say like that the main thing is that I don't know, I'm just kind of, I have that feeling of like God reaching out to me and wanting to have a connection with me. I'd say that's the most important thing.
Okay, so that's
but yeah.
that's a personal feeling for you. Why should we be Christian?
Well, I was
Yeah, because we
gonna
just feel
say,
like Jesus is pretty bad. Like, we feel like you're a
oh,
way better. I would rather worship you than Jesus, personally, just based on what
no,
I've
don't
heard
do
so far.
that.
I'm telling
Oh
you.
my goodness.
Like, Jesus says if a man marries a woman, he is guilty of adultery. The penalty for adultery is death. So Jesus literally thinks if a man marries a divorced woman, he needs to die, according to the law, which is the
Do
law.
you think that maybe
That's what,
the unaliving penalty no longer exists in the New Testament? Because that's what I got from that story of him
no.
stopping the stoning of a woman.
He didn't stop it, though. He just gave a witty way out, but he didn't actually say don't stone her to death. They broke the law by not doing it.
Right, but isn't that kind of indication that that law doesn't exist anymore?
No. No, it's showing that it does exist, if anything, because Jesus is sort of giving them a way out of keeping it without actually going through with it. That means the law was there, or he would have just said, "No, there's no law. Don't worry about it." Why are you gonna? He would have said, "Why are you gonna stone this lady when there's no penalty for this under the law?" That's what he would have said if that was the case. But like in Matthew
Right,
chapter
yeah.
15, he chastises the Pharisees for not putting their disobedient children to death as per the law of Moses. So
Yeah,
it's
yeah.
definitely in
I've
effect.
looked at I've looked at that last one that you talked about, and so this is where like for me it's kind of um it's kind of saying in a roundabout way that the law is not the same anymore. And the reason why I say that is in that verse, if you like read a few lines down, it said, oh, it used to be the case that eating all of this stuff is sinful for you, but now there's nothing you can eat that is unclean. It's only the words that come out of your mouth that are unclean, right? Because in the OT they were forbidden from eating certain foods, right? I can't remember what those foods were exactly. Like, I don't know,
Shrimp,
shrimp or
pork,
something? Like,
shrimp,
yeah, exactly.
pork,
Yeah.
anything
I
hooven,
forgot.
I
Yeah.
think, right? Anything that has a hoof.
Yeah, yeah,
Yeah.
stuff like that, right? And so in that verse that the host just talked about, if you go a little bit down, it says, this used to be the case, but now people are allowed to eat whatever they want. You can eat pork, bacon, whatever you want, because no food is unclean. The only thing that's unclean is the stuff that comes out of your mouth. Basically, your words are unclean, right? And so that kind of indicates to me that Jesus is saying this is old news. This is no longer applying to people.
Well, he's saying eating with unwashed hands does not defile. He's not giving dietary laws here. That's the whole point. The Pharisees come up to him and they say, "Why aren't you washing your hands like the tradition tells you to, if you're like this priestly and godly guy?" And instead of answering the question directly, Jesus poses a question back to them and calls them hypocrites. He says, "You are keeping the tradition of men over the law of God." And he explicitly brings up them not putting their children to death as per the law of Moses. And he's saying you nullified the word of God by not doing that, because you are allowing people that are breaking the law actively to persist in breaking the law. That's why he's calling them hypocrites. They say, "You're supposed to be washing your hands." And he's saying, "Well, you're supposed to be keeping the law." So he's calling them a hypocrite.
Yeah, I get that. And to be fair, to be honest, even to me, it is a little bit confusing as to why he says that, because he says that, but then he seems to indicate that we're not supposed to follow the OT law anymore. And it's just that I
No,
think
that's
when
the opposite of what he's saying. He's saying you have to follow the law. Like if you read on down what you're talking about, the last line of that whole little story says, "These are what defile a person, but to eat with unwashed hands does not defile." That was the whole point. This isn't about you can eat whatever you want. Jesus explicitly says you do not eat the meat sacrificed to other gods. So he is saying you're not supposed to eat those things. But in Matthew 5, he explicitly says you have to keep the law, and if you don't keep it better than the teachers and the Pharisees, then you will never enter the kingdom of heaven, is what Jesus said.
Right. I think I don't know. So for me, I'm just gonna say that like when I've read like the entire New Testament, it just does kind of seem very clear to me that there are a lot of changes that have happened in accordance
In the law?
with the new covenant. Yeah, exactly. Because it's I'll just give you like
Okay.
maybe like
Well,
two
if that,
examples, right?
well,
Sorry, go
hold on.
ahead.
Let me read this real quick. So this is what Jesus says about the law. It says, "For truly I tell you, until heaven and earth pass away, not one letter, not one stroke of a letter will pass from the law until all is accomplished." So Jesus himself is saying there is not one dot or stroke of a letter in the law that's going to change until heaven and earth pass away. So the law, according to Jesus and according to God, was never supposed to change at all.
Yeah, I get that. And this is where like it kind of gets confusing for me because I could see a verse that says that, but then at the same time, there are other verses where he says this used to happen and we're no longer doing it anymore. Like the divorce verse, the circumcision verse. I don't know if I can say that on TikTok, but for example, in OT in Genesis 17, you had to do that to baby boys on the 8th day after birth. But now they're saying in the NT that you don't have to do that anymore. It's out and it doesn't help you at all if you get circumcised.
Is that what it
Yeah,
says?
it does say that but that's Paul, that's not Jesus, so I don't know, maybe.
Well, Paul says if you take the marks of circumcision, then the sacrifice from Christ is of no use to you. He's saying if you take the mark of circumcision, then you are absolutely under the law still, even though the sacrifice was supposed to have abolished the law, according to Paul.
Yeah.
So what makes you, sorry, this is a little bit of a diversion, but like, so aside from why you think we should be Christian, why do you think that Christianity is true and the other ones are false? And I'm going to go back to how you feel, because there are people in other religions that feel the exact same thing you do about their religion. So what makes your feelings right and their feelings wrong?
I wouldn't say they're necessarily wrong because I do think that God will come to us in different ways. So for some people, if they want to be Muslim or they want to be Buddhist, well, actually Buddhism is an atheistic religion, so that one's out. But if they want to be like Hindu or like some other religion, and that is how they have a connection with God, I see no problem with it. So I'm not like I forgot what the word for like the opposite of a pluralist is. I'm not someone who thinks that like I'm correct and everyone else is wrong. Sorry, someone came into my room. But yeah, so I'm not one of those people who's like I'm right and everyone else is wrong. I think it's just a matter of personal belief.
So do you think people that don't follow your God are going to go to hell?
I don't think so, no.
Do you believe in hell?
Because I do think that there is a hell, and I would be quite disappointed if there wasn't a hell, because so many people have done like really horrible things and didn't get any sort of retribution on earth. And I do think I think it's a matter of intention, right? Because we also have this thing in Christianity, Casey, of like different denominations, right? So I'm non-denominational. Do I think that if Catholics go and pray to a saint, that they're committing idolatry and are going to hell? Probably not, because according to them, they're not doing it with bad intentions, right? They're doing it with the intention of just being a good Catholic or whatever, right?
Okay, so
So
what
I
about,
think that,
oh, sorry, go
yeah,
ahead.
sorry, go ahead. Oh, I was just going to say, I think it's truly about intention. So if someone is intending to be a good person and living their life off of what they think a good person is in their circumstances, I think that they're going to God will have mercy on them. But if they are intentionally living their life in a way that they're like, I don't care what God says, I don't care what about anyone else, I'm just going to hurt people, then yeah, I think that God will punish them.
Okay, well, so like me, I don't believe in God. Right? I don't believe in your God or any gods. But like, I live my life. I think I'm a good person. I help people. I do charity work. I try to build community and be kind and be generous. And I try to do all of those things. And I don't live my life to hurt people. I never intentionally hurt people, but I don't believe in God. Do I go to heaven?
I would say no, because you would say, maybe, let me just ask you, you would say that you don't believe in God because you're not convinced 100% of God's existence, right?
I mean, not 100%. I'm not convinced at all.
Right. So the thing about being convinced of something, it's not a choice, right? So you're not
Right.
choosing to
Right.
not be
So I haven't
convinced
done
in God.
anything. So I haven't done
Yeah,
anything wrong against God, except that I don't believe.
exactly. Yeah,
But
because
you still
if
think
you
I'm not going to heaven.
no, I do think you would go to heaven,
Oh,
or at least I would want that. So
but I don't have
because like as
faith.
you said,
And the Bible says
I
I
know
have
that,
to
but
have
that's not
faith.
your choice. That's not your choice, though.
See, this is where I'm talking about the discernment, princess. Yeah. I think you have good moral discernment all on your own, because the things that you are saying are not necessarily in alignment with the Bible, ma'am. You know what I'm
Not
No,
even
saying?
because
close, actually.
Yeah.
Yeah,
no, because
Jesus.
okay. So Casey, sorry, go ahead.
No, I was just going to say, Jesus taught a very, very different message than what you guys usually tell us he taught.
Yeah, and according to Jesus's logic, if you can be forgiven for any sin, you're going to be trapped into heaven with a bunch of child murderers and rapists just because they repented and got to go to heaven.
Yeah, and I'm going to go to hell even if I was a good person and did all good things, but I don't believe. I'm going to go to hell, and those people who just asked for forgiveness or believed are going to go to heaven. That's what the Bible teaches.
Okay, but Casey, look at this here, right? So
Hmm.
we know that there's something called informed consent, right? You can't
Hmm.
properly consent to something until you have like full knowledge of the situation, right? So if in the Bible, it says that people have to go out and preach the word of God, and they have to make disciples of people of all nations, right? And
Hmm.
so maybe because I'm hearing your accent and you sound American or Canadian. I can't tell which.
I wish I could tell you I was Canadian, but I'm not. I'm American. I'm American.
Okay, yeah. So the thing
Because I
about
want to be
you,
Canadian.
the thing about you is that I'm not shocked at all that you don't want to be a Christian, because the version of Christianity that you've been shown is American evangelist Christianity, which is just horrible, misogynistic, homophobic, evil, like all of
But
these
I did.
things, right?
But I didn't grow up in
It's
the.
biblical, though.
Yeah, and I didn't grow up in the evangelist church. I grew up Catholic. I did go to Southern Baptist Church with my grandmother, but I was raised Catholic and I went to Catholic school.
Yeah, there's over 100 different denominations of Christianity here in the U.S.
Hmm.
Catholicism is one of the largest ones, actually, and that's how I grew up, actually.
Yeah, okay. I get where you're coming from, but I will say the Southern Baptist Church, they like literally started based on them saying that they're okay with slavery,
Yes,
right?
I agree. I agree.
Which
I agree with you. Southern Baptist, the various Baptist denominations, there's several actually, just Baptist in the US. They're not great. And I agree with you. They're the more evangelistic, fundamentalist kind of area. Even though I went to church with my grandmother, I was taught to believe Catholicism, which and there can be very conservative Catholic, well, I won't say denominations because that's not really accurate, but There are some Catholic churches and influences that are much more conservative. Mine wasn't like that. And so that what I grew up in wasn't I didn't grow up in fire and brimstone, the hate stuff, the hate gay people. I didn't grow up in that world. That was not my religious experience.
That's pretty good.
Although it was still considered wrong, right? Being gay, of course, right? It was still
Just wasn't
wrong, but
talked about a lot.
yeah, it just was right. It wasn't talked about. There was no like overt, you should not like these people. I never grew up hearing love the sinner, hate the sin. Like that's not what I grew up in.
Oh, okay, that makes sense. Yeah, I was just going to say, when you mentioned like Southern Baptists, right? I do feel that when they started the way that they did, when they were coming out and saying, yeah, we're okay with slavery being legalized and all of this stuff, that they were not coming at it from a Christian standpoint. Because I mean, if you go to Galatians 3:28, it says that there is no distinction between races in Christianity. You are all equal, right?
Yeah,
So to me,
but they
that's like
but they
not
actually
Christian.
did. The Christians in the US South, they absolutely used the Bible to justify slavery, and they even created, have you heard of the slave Bible?
Heard of that?
Yeah, so they even created the slave Bible so that the slaves at the time would not be taught or learn. I mean, I know most of them could not read, but they did not have in their Bibles anything related to the Exodus, the slaves being freed from Egypt. They didn't, all that shit was stripped from the Bible because they didn't want the slaves. So they absolutely used the Bible to justify slavery in the US South, 100%. Now, was that all Christian? Because we can argue the other side. The abolitionist Christians tried to use the good parts of the Bible, like you say, they tried to use the good parts of the Bible to get rid of slavery. But that doesn't mean that the Bible wasn't also used to justify it. It's a conundrum.
Absolutely.
It's kind of like don't
And
give
you know
credit
what?
for the
Sorry, go
firemen for
ahead.
starting the fire and putting it out. Like it doesn't make sense to give them credit for both.
I agree. And I just wanted to say to Casey, I completely see where you're coming from, but I will say that there was this story, and it's in the New Testament. It's basically about the devil coming
Hey,
to Christ.
hey,
Sorry, go
Princess, I
ahead.
got like 2 minutes left. If you want to make that your final thought, there, I'm about to have to run.
Okay, I'm so sorry. Okay, so I'll hurry up. I'll hurry
No,
up.
that's okay.
So
That's fine. Go
in
ahead.
the New Testament, there was this story about uh, Satan coming to Jesus and telling him, if you have faith in God, throw yourself off a cliff. And Jesus is like, why would I do that? That doesn't make any sense. And then Satan basically quotes this verse from Proverbs, which basically says you have to have so much faith in God that you're willing to like throw yourself off a cliff. And Jesus says, no, just because you quote scripture doesn't mean that you're correct, right? So trust me, like as someone who's been married for 2 years, I've been told many times as a Christian woman, you should be okay with your husband hitting you because of Christianity. And I was like, no, that's not how you're supposed to do it because of people misusing Bible verses. So I'm just saying that they do it with bad intentions, not with Christ-like intentions.
What
Okay,
if
I'm
they
done.
wasn't misusing the Bible verse though?
Well, I think they are though. Like, how can you
But what if
use
they're
the
not?
Bible to justify mistreating people? That doesn't make any sense.
Because it says you can in some cases. We just consider it mistreatment. Like with what KC was saying with you earlier. She's saying you're morally discerning this on your own. That means you're breaking down something in the Bible, but you're still saying it's wrong. So there's a whole lot of cases here where it says you can do very immoral things and probably all of our opinions.
Yeah,
But it's not necessarily misusing the Bible. It's doing exactly what it says you can.
and that you're property. You're not property, and you know you're not property. Your husband probably knows you're not property, but the Bible says you are. So you're using discernment, and I love that about you, Princess. You should keep reading the Bible with a critical mind and using that own discernment that you have in yourself.
That's what I'm saying.
Thank
You're
you
on
so
the
much.
team that is also saying you should be subservient and let a man hit you. This is the same team you're on here. And they're not necessarily being unbiblical in the ways you are, if that makes sense.
Yeah, yeah, I do think that that's not right, but like you said, you have to go, so.
Yeah, I heard you.
Come
Well,
back
you
up
was
another time. Come back up another time.
yeah,
Follow
please
up Ape
do.
here, and we can talk again.
Yes,
Okay, God bless you guys.
Have a good day.
Or science bless you.
yes. Science will bless all of us with saving many, many lives more in the future. I'm sure it will take us places we've never gone. It will connect us in ways we've never connected. Meanwhile, God will sit in our imaginations being completely and utterly useless, unfortunately. So, if you are not following my man Dugald, also,
That wasn't even on
I was trying
purpose.
not to laugh there.
I know, right?
I wouldn't do that. Stop. Anyway. Also, my awesome co-host, Miss KC here. My awesome co-host, Douglas, of course. We're up here every day. Oh, yeah. So I was going to try, when I was talking about the science thing earlier, I was going to see if it makes a difference in getting people, which today it didn't matter. But I was going to see, like if, I don't know, maybe like if y'all, like, just for example, say y'all two dropped, and then we get somebody and I bring you back up is the best way to get people. Where today it didn't even fucking matter, which I was trying to tell, so maybe it's pointless anyway.
We can
But
try
that's
it
what I was
another
going to
day.
try out. I was just going to say if, like, maybe it'd be better to drop in between people if we're going a minute.
hmm
But then again, I don't know. So
We can
guess
try it
we'll
out.
just
You
try
never
it.
know. It might.
Yeah, I was. Mezzo and Joel did some science on this before. This is what had me interested in trying it that way, like actually kind of logging what happens.
Well, you just kick
Or,
me and invite me up at your whim, whatever you want to do.
yes, I will. I will be like God.
I won't take offense, promise.
Cool. Well, maybe we don't have to today. Like it didn't matter at all. So that would definitely be ideal instead of having to shuffle people around. But if it does make a difference, I would like to know that. I guess. I guess we'll see how it goes. I suppose. But anyway, guys, I am off to the work. So what? Oh, that was Tris. Thank you, Tris. Are y'all trying to feed the fish before I go? Is that what's happening here? There's actually a couple more people in the
Yeah, I
queue.
think there's only 4 more. I think you're probably already done. Oh yeah,
Yep.
Oh shit! Yeah,
here you
let's
go.
feed the fish.
One more fish feed.
Y'all paid the money. The roses are sent, and the fish will now gluttonize these pebbles. We'll throw it.
See, that's what
Here you go, fishing.
that's what you've got. You've got your TikTok. That's what your TikTok pays for. Fish feed.
Hell yeah! No, it ain't
Or
covering
maybe
it.
part of it, maybe.
Man, that shit's expensive. I get a 50-pound bag, and it's $110 for a 150-pound bag, and then, or I
Wow.
mean a 50-pound bag. And believe it or not, that only lasts 5 or 6 weeks.
Oh geez.
Wow.
So yeah, they're pretty expensive, but I love them.
Well, some of them are getting to be fatties. Look at that big gold one back there. She's got a badonkey.
Yeah, that one's huge. And some of
Mm-hmm.
these,
There's a
like,
gray one up here
maybe
too.
let's see. Can you
Mm-hmm.
see this one over here? Maybe I'm pointing.
Yeah, I did. Yeah.
Let's see. Maybe
Uh,
that one there. That one's probably this long now.
uh,
Like probably right out of foot. But that thing was literally like this long when I got it. I mean, it was like a guppy sized.
yeah, you're chunking them up over there.
That's right. And the roses helps. You gotta get that. But I love it out here, man. I love these fishes. Like I would pick them up and hug them. They didn't get me all wet. Like, and suffocate them and stuff. Like, I want to pet them. Sometimes I do. Sometimes they'll like swim right to your hands if you got the food and stuff. They're super cool. But anyway, guys, I will be running on, and tomorrow I will be back again. Yeah, I will be back again tomorrow. I always say that, and then something comes up where I didn't realize. But anyway, guys, thank you all so much. We had over 100 people nearly the whole time today. The hell? So that's freaking awesome. Don't forget, follow Douglas, KC. We're both here. And we will catch everyone on the morrow. So say goodbye to the fishes, everyone.
Bye,
Bye,
fishes.
fishes. Bye, bye, fishes. We'll get one more of those in too.